Hey everybody, Zach Joyner here for Spideydude Experience. This is episode number 8. That's right, we're on the 8th episode. We're going to be covering 2 trades, volume 9 and volume 10. I am your friendly neighborhood host of the Spideydude Experience, webmaster of Spideydude.com, and I am joined by the host of Make Mine Mayday here on the Spideydude Radio Network, Kelly!
Hey! Yes.
As she is put on the screen. If you're not watching us on YouTube and you're just listening to us on the audio, you are missing out because we have visual cues and all sorts of things.
Yeah. Normally this wig doesn't look like that, but it kind of looks like that right now.
It's Mayday.
Yeah.
Check out her TikToks on Instagram.
I guess so.
Yeah. All right. Next up, we've got agreeable. Well, he's not agreeable, Neil, this time.
No, he's just Neil.
I'm okay, Neil.
Neil, I got feedback.
Oh.
Okay. I'll just mute myself.
Poor Neil. And next up, we have the Sins of Adam.
Hello.
And also up next, we got P-Thuggin Paul.
Oh, there he is.
Hey!
I am here. Yeah,
he is here.
I had weird baby stuff, but like my
baby
wife,
emergencies. I understand.
It's really hard to explain. It's overly complicated, but just basically, I'm here. I'm here now.
Okay.
He's here now. So, and finally, the host of the returning Spectacular Radio here on the Spideydude Radio Network. He is Mr. Daddy Warlord of the Children of Corn, a.k.a. Greg Bashansky.
Saving the worst for last.
To quote your good friend, "You are the worst." I'm just kidding. He's not your good friend.
Nick, can we call Greg Cornholio?
Cornholio.
He set himself up with the Stephen King
Bye,
reference.
guys.
All right, so
Goodbye.
Spider Karen just noped out of here.
I want to speak with the manager.
May she speak with the manager.
Zach is the manager.
I am.
Technically.
Oh, what does that say? What does that say? So much of what that says.
Zach, you are dressed like the manager, so I don't want to
listen. I am dressed.
Or a pastor. The ominous pastor.
Listen, we were dealing with we're dealing with sins today, and so therefore I must dress in appropriate attire.
You're not wearing a green suit.
Yeah, but I don't want you to dress like Kenneth Copeland.
Kenneth Copeland in a green ski mask.
Should I leave again?
That is.
Baby.
No, baby, we're back. Oh, bye, Paul.
I mean, Paul left.
Paul
I feel
knows
that
that
energy.
Goodbye.
Again, if you are not watching us on YouTube, you are missing out on some fun visual cues.
Oh, hey, here's a Pop-Tart.
It was a good run.
It was a good run, but Spideydude Experience ends with episode 8.
I found a Pop-Tart.
You just found it? You didn't realize it was on your...
It was just sitting there.
No.
What?
It was just.
It's been dinner.
What?
Oh my god.
The life of a college student.
I don't know.
Okay.
All right.
What is going on?
I don't know. I really don't know. I'm so confused right now. I'm also getting flashbacks to like college
And feedback.
And feedback, yeah.
I'm not getting any feedback on my end though. So is it me?
Well,
I am muting myself.
No, I'm hearing something. Maybe it's me. I don't know.
Okay.
It's possible.
All I'm saying is that we're not even 5 minutes in. I've left, Paul's left, Neil's on a Pop-Tart.
But what kind of Pop-Tart? That's my question.
Yeah.
Wish there was a way to check the wrapper.
I think it's the blueberry. Remember what it tasted like?
The box.
I think it's the blueberry one.
Yes,
that's a good
blueberry. Represent. There's only one Pop-Tart.
No, wild berry. Wild berry.
It's blueberry.
As a '90s kid, I remember when the wild berry flavor came out, and I was like, "It's so cool! It has the blue little stripe in there."
I made the mistake when I was a small child of consuming the or not a small child, but like the fountain, the orange Fanta flavored. Pop-Tart. Yes, it was for like 10 seconds, and everyone hated it, so they canceled it.
No, it's amazing.
So back to Spider-Man.
You're disgusting.
Yeah.
All right, we are picking up with 845. Fun fact, with this issue, it's been 300 issues exactly since One More Day. That will become pertinent later.
Or will it? It will. But...
Oh wait, are we doing Jurassic Park or? I hear bits and pieces of Jurassic Park and also Edward Scissorhands. I don't know which one we're doing, so we're gonna do both.
So, all right.
Accurate.
So this is the prelude issue to Sins Rising. We're covering the Sins Rising and Return of the Green Goblin trade. So we're going to do this issue 44 all the way through to 49, which is 850, as well as this. Are we doing the Sins Norman Osborn? Yes, we're doing Sins Norman Osborn.
Because it's part of the Green Goblin trade, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, Beware the Rising, written by Nick Spencer, artwork by Kim Jacinto and with Bruno Oliveira. They're the artists on this one. Yeah. So I'm going to try to blaze through this recap very, very quickly. We open the issue with Peter Parker. He's asleep. He's having some bad dreams. We then cut to Override and Spider-Man. They're kind of talking back and forth. The demons, Mr. Negative's demons, are he's that's who Override's working for. Some back and forth. Overdrive. I keep saying Override. Override was a character from the Clone Saga. I always do that. I've done that since he was introduced.
Your default
Override, Overdrive. So, anyway, we have this like carnage-looking thing that looks like it's like killing everybody. Talking about being cleansed. And basically what that's happening is Override is
Overdrive.
Overdrive. God. Overdrive is running away. He's trying.
What is this? Sins past?
Yeah. Yes, it is.
So he's talking with Spider-Man. All of a sudden we see the Sin Eater show up, and then boom. Peter then calls Mary Jane, and he's talking about what's kind of going on and kind of giving his perspective. And then the ominously the ring that he was going to give her falls down. You don't have to do that, Greg. I got the issue right here.
I mean, you're not sharing it, so.
Well, I didn't want to share the whole issue on the stream.
That's fair.
But there you go. Ominously, there's the ring. I'll even do the guided view. There you go.
Thank you, Marvel, for including this.
Yeah, bam, right there. So that's not ominous at all. Meanwhile,
the art changes for no reason.
Yeah, the art, different artists. Yeah. You can tell this was a rush job, and this is a nightmare of Peter's between him and Kindred. Kindred's starting to go after him, and of course we then get the to be continued after we get the final splash page. Next issue is issue 45. Sins Rising Part 1.
Real quick, I love the covers for Sins Rising, like the horror movie aspect.
Yeah. I like them too. I like this. This is my favorite one.
Yeah, so the Mark Bagley makes his triumphant return.
For the nth time in his career, he is back to drawing Spider-Man.
Yeah, but this is his first time on Amazing Spider-Man since Amazing Spider-Man number 4. As a regular artist, I think he did some work, fill-in work here and there.
We don't count the Spider series he did with Peter.
Well,
David.
we don't count that or Venom or anything else he did. This is his first time on Amazing Spider-Man since Amazing Spider-Man number 416.
416. Spider-Man went off.
Yeah, 416. 417 was the first. No, 415. It was 415.
I was right.
Yeah, 415. It was ASM 415 because 416 and 417 were Ron Garney, and then Steve Scaros did 418.
But basically, Bagley's back. That's a big deal. It's good.
Huge deal. We kind of get this little bit of backstory with gorgeous Mysterio, but this is this is definitely what I would refer to as the Carly Cooper issue.
The black sheep of the Spider-Man cast.
So Carly's kind of going through and kind of giving a Reader's Digest version, which is interesting because we don't get the actual title page until fourth of the way through the issue. So someone has been set loose from hell on his path destined to cross Spider-Man's. So John Dell with Andy Owens, Mark Bagley's a penciler. That's the inkers. I was trying to figure out who did the cover artist. The cover artist was Casanovas did the cover. Mark Bagley, John Dell, and Maury Hollowell were the variant cover artists. So
I have words on the inks. We'll get to it when we get to it.
So we have Peter is kind of getting exhausted because he keeps having the nightmares. So he goes to this Shakespeare in the Park scenario, Greg.
Yeah, I know.
And Peter was like, there was a plan, and he was talking about how he was going to pick up Mary Jane from the airport, and how they were going to go on this date together, and everything was good.
I think this is the same date that Peter was going on in Amazing Mary Jane #6.
Yes.
Yeah.
Actually.
Yeah. The one
By the
where
way-
he was on time and she wasn't, and then we don't know what
sad.
happens in Montana. Yeah.
As someone who didn't read the Mary Jane series, because I don't have a lot of time, it seems like, to read it, and I wanted to. And I want to see the Savage 6 really bad. That was a great moment for me. I did not know that was going to happen. And I was like, oh, that's a kind of a twist there, and I thought it was really clever, So I thought it was a really cool idea that Peter.
I think you're about 3 or 4 to 1 on that one. The only one I don't know is Greg. I don't know what his thoughts are on that, but I don't think many of us particularly liked that 6th issue.
We'll get to that.
Jane.
We can talk about that here in a little bit.
Okay.
But by the way, just to interject, Peter is correct to be bummed. You know how hard what you have to go through to get tickets for Shakespeare in the Park? You can't just order them online. You have to plant yourself there practically overnight and wait online. It's very difficult to get tickets.
This is why we've always needed a native New Yorker here to give that perspective. But anyway, Peter then saves a bald man that looks suspiciously like me if I shave my beard off from Overdrive. Son of a biscuit.
I have it in green text in the private chat, so every time you need to, you can look and see.
Yeah. So anyway, so Peter's like, is the dream real? When the dreams what is the jackal joke
Begins.
Yeah. Oh no, it's the jackal all over again. I remember Time Bomb. It was awful. Anyway, so Peter's trying to stop Overdrive from mowing people down. Then all of a sudden, Sin Eater shows up. Sin Eater shoots the freaking car, which makes it do this big, giant Michael Bay-esque explosion. Choo!
Blam, choo. Blam, choo.
Yeah, there's a big...
There's not enough bad CGI and obnoxious noise sound effects.
So-
Shake him. Now it's like,
Oh no!
Yeah, it really is
My
Michael
eyes.
Bay. So anyway, Peter then saves a couple of kids. He's like, this has already happened. He's dreaming it. He's like, no, wake up, pull together. This is real. So he saves Overdrive, and but not before, not before Sin Eater walks in. He's like, you should give him to me, Spider-Man. I always I always wondered who the voice actor would be on Spectacular Spider-Man.
it's
Steve Blum.
No, we've already got him. It was Tom Wilson, Biff from Back to the Future. We had Sergeant Carter.
Oh, that's right. That's
Because he was DeWolf's partner in Spec.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we also got
Make like a tree,
Joe Wade.
Spider-Man, and get the hell out of here.
Make like a tree. Get out of here. So we then get the splash page basically recapping the Sin Eater's origin for Morrissey, the rise of the Sin Eater. So Peter's like really teed off. There's a brief fight. Again, we get a little bit of backstory. Peter's just mad because, again, he's just, Sin Eater is just a murderer. So Sin Eater shoots Spider-Man. It just goes through Peter. The bullet does. This magic bullet, not to be confused with the Kennedy assassination.
I assume it's because Peter is a good boy.
Yeah, because Peter is pure of heart. But anyway, we get Overdrive. Overdrive gets shot. Looks like he dies. And Peter's like, no. Tries to save Overdrive. And you see, his sin was cowardice. He carried it with him to the end when I freed him of it. And so I have freed him from my sins. I have taken them as my own. Just a great bit with Sin Eater. And so Kindred then, pulls his little lackey off. Peter kind of drives off. But we then get back to the autopsy table where, the medical examiner, Carly Cooper, is looking at him. And there's no wound. The wound's gone.
Where are her eyebrows?
I don't know. They're covered up by the glasses, I think.
Carly Cooper in the case of the missing eyebrows.
So Override is alive.
We're gonna have this problem the entire night, aren't we?
She lost her eyebrows when Norman Osborn threw Goblin serum in her face.
Well, no, there they are. They're right there.
Oh, there they are. Never mind.
Yeah, they're there now.
So
that's the to be continued. Overdrive is back alive.
So Bagley can't even save Overdrive's awful costume, and I just in Overdrive, I'm sorry, he's fine in Superior. I to be honest, I forgot the name of the guy who does the Superior's art, but
Steve Lieber.
Steve Lieber.
Yeah, Steve Lieber.
Yeah. He probably draws the best Overdrive because it's so simplified and you don't see his face. But besides Overdrive, Bagley, it goes without saying how great he is. I think I'm not a huge fan of Ultimate Spider-Man, his young Spider-Man. It's not been my favorite. Right. I wanted to read his last one with Zdarsky. I just never got to it.
Oh, that the Life Story miniseries is legit. And
I read it in hardcover.
I had read the first 2 issues and I liked it, and I just kind of fell off, and I'll eventually read it. But anyway, what's so beautiful about Bagley is not just he draws pretty pictures, that the guy can tell a freaking story like none other. And some of these panel layouts are just so goddamn good. Specifically, the one where Peter's like jumping out, it's majority of the page.
Yeah.
Love that picture. That panel is fantastic. And then also the shot where Sin Eater shoots through Peter and hits Overdrive. Like that is so just so good. And it's so refreshing because, again, we get like the issue before, which wasn't. I think art was okay.
I liked Kim Jacinto, the second guy that I didn't like.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
The guy was fine, but you see a master at work here. You see the differences. It's well, and his Sin Eater is great. And I think it's beautiful too.
As we go through, because we're at part 2 now. We had the prelude and obviously part 1. This does need to be said. These were the first some of the first issues to come out after the pandemic hit. There definitely are rush jobs. There's definite, having to have fill-in artists. I mean, the fact that we're now on our 4th artist and we're only in part 2. Granted, when one of those is Bagley, we don't really complain. But Ferreira, who's done a few issues before this issue, he is back for the next issue, which is 46.
I do want to point out that the big flaw in Bagley's art this time, and I know that we're singing Bagley's praises, but John Dell is seriously hampering Bagley's art. His inking is all, who inks him in today's issue? Was it Dell? Because it felt much stronger there, but all over the place, it looks like there's lines missing. There's that one panel of MJ early on in the issue where Peter's focusing on her, and it's missing so many essential details to the face that Bagley usually has. And I don't think Bagley is that lazy to miss those lines. I think this is on John Dell to fix it.
Well, there were also there were 2 inkers, I think, on 45.
Yeah,
because like the
Yes,
pages after the initial chase look fine. With the exception of the bookend part of Carly and Overdrive. But like there's something wrong about it, and I can't put my finger on it. It just looks incomplete and sloppy.
It's funny because I see the lack of detail, I guess, but I think it's also because the issue itself is kind of takes place at night, and I feel like there's a lot of, you can't really show a lot of detail when you're like you have lots of brights and like the fire going on here. I just feel like it's muted on purpose. And so I see your point. And granted, like Bagley is super detailed usually. And that's what I think what makes him so good is he doesn't skip out. Like the guy draws everything to the T. But
colors also don't help, I don't think.
That's what I think. It's more the colorist more than anything. The colors are very muted, whereas like in the last issue, the 850 or whatever the anniversary issue is, there's the one where Kindred's sitting over a grave. The detail on that looks classic Bagley to me when I read it, but this feels more like newer Bagley as far, and I think that is the coloring for sure. But yeah, I definitely see it's not as detailed as what normally goes on. I agree with that, but I don't think it's bad necessarily either. It's just different.
It's easier to tell when there's a
so here's the panel
that's not the best Bagley portrait of MJ.
I like how he draws MJ at all. Usually,
I made a joke in my written review that he just took a picture of his wife and traced over it.
Possibly.
That's not to be mean to Bagley's wife. I'm sure she's a very lovely woman.
Yeah, but again, this is very much kind of feels like a blending of the 2000s Bagley with the 90s Bagley. Yeah. And when you get to the fight scene and when he's actually drawing Spider-Man, it is nice to see a Spider-Man that actually is a little bit thick.
very kinetic and
like this boy right here.
That is a wonderful panel.
That is beautiful.
Okay, can you go back to the panel, to the page where they're with the plane at the airport?
Yeah.
Like that, when the colors are popping, like that page right there. That page right there, the colors are really weird.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I think it is Curiel as the colorist Curiel's the colors for the next 4 issues, and that might be the problem.
But see, at the same time, I think the colors work really well. That picture of Spider-Man on page 77 of the that is beautiful. I mean, that's everything working together in sync with comics. So
no, I don't disagree. I like this page here with the Sin Eater here.
Oh, that's a great page.
It's fabulous.
Yes.
So there's a lot of fabulous work that's done in this first part. One thing we did not include, and I think I might have missed it. In part 1. This is the
the prelude issue.
This is the prelude issue. This was like a oversized issue. I didn't the only thing I can say about this is that Nick Spencer and Guillermo Santa, this is definitely, if you don't know the history of Stan Carter, this is an essential issue for this book. I thought it was very well done. I was glad that it was a one-shot and not an issue of Amazing Spider-Man, because it would have been just like Amazing Spider-Man meets remedial, schooling. But there's so many people that haven't necessarily read that original.
It's kind of like how for X of Swords they're doing like that handbook for the like the essential things you need to know, or like they do for Empire. This kind of reminds me of like the handbook, like the need to know stuff, but also telling its own story.
Yeah, to be honest, I knew most of the Senator stuff, but I didn't know. I assumed the stuff with the eating off the dead person was Nick Spencer. That's
definitely a Nick Spencer thing.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought. I just was like, man, maybe I don't know as much Senator as I thought.
that actually comes from the the lore.
Well, right, yeah. No, right. What I mean is for Sin Eater itself.
But that's as his backstory.
It's a way appearance.
I want to say that where Sin Eater is. Oh gosh, it's a very loud dog. I have to commend Spencer for bringing in Sin Eater, because that's something. When I first read this and heard about Sin Eater coming back, I'm like, okay, how's that going to work? And this, I think, starting it off, because I remember reading this, the origin issue, if you will, of Sin Eater was the first thing that came out. At least I remember from the Sins Rising, and I was really like, oh, okay. He's really going through this angle of he's sympathetic but not sympathetic, and
Right.
if that makes any sense. I mean, I don't want to say sympathetic, but
You understand him.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, you understand where he's coming from.
Mhm.
But what's nice about it is you see how messed up he is, and how Spider-Man, not trusting him messed him up, and just everything. I love how he layered it. And again, he's so knowledgeable, and it's so great to get that from, and have it pay off. Like bringing back Sin Eater, it's not wasted. It's completely new. It's different, and it's ridiculous, but it works. And it's mind-blowing to me that I'm reading something about Sin Eater, the original Sin Eater, and it's magical, like literally a magical thing that's going, some kind of mystical thing going on, and it's in Spider-Man, and it's, in my opinion, really good. And it's just I would never have predicted that. I would have said no.
I don't think though this would have worked had we not gotten several years of JMS beforehand.
Right.
Kelly, well, I think she's.
What? I'm sorry. I'm literally. I'm sorry, guys. So, like, for anybody not aware, I have some ridiculously rude roommates, and they've decided just to completely blast whatever the hell they're watching.
Is that
and I can't.
Yeah.
That is me.
I thought,
but that's me trying to have some kind of focus, because right now I can't. So that's why I'm trying to stay muted. I'm literally there's too much going on. I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah, you're good. You're good. I thought you were trying to jump in with like a point. That's why I went to you.
No, I was about to flick off my roof and scream.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, you do that. All right, so Paul, I'm gonna since you kind of been talking, I'll open it up to the rest of the panel. Greg, what are your thoughts briefly before we move on to the next part?
Well, I'm old enough to have been reading Spidey when Mark Bagley was new to Amazing Spider-Man. So to see him back, just even despite some of the issues here with inking and maybe even the coloring, it just feels so right. I mean, I remember those days. It was the hot artist era of Marvel. I mean, and Jim Lee and Todd McFarlane were the biggest names. I remember even back then saying, why isn't this Bagley guy being held up alongside those two? I think he is now, and he's definitely earned it. But to see him back, just draw, it feels like Spider-Man. I mean, he's up there with John Romita Sr. and Jr. for me. So him returning is just as momentous as either of those two drawing this issue.
I don't disagree. I think Bagley, Bagley, is one of those artists that go with Spider-Man like peanut butter and jelly. Mm-hmm. And so I'm just happy to see him draw 616 Spidey after several years of drawing, the Ultimate Universe Spider-Man. It kind of makes sense that
it's full circle.
Yeah, it does. It does. The other thing that I would say is Bagley, I think, got this assignment super late into the game, and I kind of feel like a little bit of that was rushed.
If this is a A game, it's still excellent.
Well, look, a B minus Bagley is an A minus of most artists. So
exactly.
I do definitely feel that. Adam, what do you think?
I like these first few. I like the art for them. Like you're talking about Bagley. Like I feel like I'm the odd man out because like I like Bagley, but he's not like my absolute favorite, especially of the '90s guys. Like I was more of a Romita Jr. guy. To me, that's kind of like
you like the bigger, bulkier, blockier Spider-Man.
A little bit, and I like when Romita Jr. draws him lean too.
Yeah, JMS. JMS for
Yeah.
me.
I mean,
I like to refer to him as.
I agree, but I think this is good. This is good Bagley art. Like, I agree with Greg. Like, it's good to, see him back. It feels, familiar. It's like, it's welcome. I agree with Neil. Like, there's something, with the inking and the coloring that's kind of like, I think, putting this down a little bit in some ways, but it's enhancing it in other ways. I agree with Paul that, like, Bagley's storytelling is excellent. Like, you follow everything really well. And Spencer's writing obviously helps with that. I like Sin Eater in this. He's kind of scary. He's kind of unsettling.
Very menacing.
Yeah, menacing. I think we kind of lose that a little bit as it goes on, but I think it's a pretty strong start.
We'll talk about
to the
that.
arc.
Yeah,
and yeah, I enjoy these first couple issues.
Yeah,
That's a good point, Adam. That's a really good point.
Yeah, and also I'll admit when I first heard they were bringing back Sin Eater, at first I raised an eyebrow, but if it were anyone else writing it, I would have raised more than an eyebrow. I probably would have raised a little bit of hell because I trust Nick Spencer to tell the story because
Sure.
I consider this also, and I really need to send this out to whoever the person who won the prize. Made that donation. It's coming out. I promise.
Yeah, we are getting that out to everybody, and that is something that's happening. But
it's one of the all-time. Anyway, Death of Gene the Wolf is one of the all-time great Spider-Man stories. And to bring a character back like Sin Eater, who is clearly not meant to be an ongoing presence as a villain, I mean, that's almost up there with, say, bringing back Kraven, which didn't work out, or bringing back Norman Osborn, which I think did work out, even though I know it's controversial and. Right. Fandom, and I think it ended up really working out. So, I mean,
sorry guys, my computer just like full on crashed. Like everything just died.
You're good, buddy. You're good. What, Paul? What's your grade on these first couple issues?
I'm gonna go with a solid. I'd say B plus, A minus. Kind of it's somewhere around there. It's kind of hard for me to kind of gauge exactly. I'll say A minus because I love Amazing Spider-Man right now. It's so good. So yeah. Greg, what's your grade?
A minus, excellent without being perfect.
All right, A minus for Greg. Adam, what's your grade?
I'll agree with these guys. A minus.
Okay, Neil.
I'm gonna be the odd man out. I'm gonna give it a B. I don't know. There was something about it just didn't wow me like the GOG arc did. It might have just been. It was over the summer. Just as the semester was getting ready to start, I don't know if I wasn't feeling it or not, but there was something about this issue that just made me like, okay, I'm not like done with it, but I'm kind of like, okay, this is kind of
yeah. It kind of felt like all right, we're still spinning our wheels a little bit. Spider Karen, grade and thoughts.
I really enjoyed it, but I mean. I would say, what did I give it the last time I reviewed this? A minus. But I don't have any thoughts because I wasn't able to listen and engage in the conversation, so I apologize, guys.
Sorry. I'm gonna. Never mind. I'm not gonna say anything what I want to do to them, because I know you're just as mad at them as we are. All right, so going on issue 46, Amazing Spider-Man. Number 847, if you're using legacy numbering, Sins Rising Part 2. It is before we get into it. Obviously, there was a full page ad in memory of Denny O'Neil. We lost Denny O'Neil earlier this summer.
We recorded a podcast with Greg West and Andrew Robinson hours after it was announced that he died.
And is that the next episode of?
No, it's already up. I think it's the Gangland interview.
Okay, yeah, it's the Gangland interview. So if you haven't, episode 45 of Spec Radio, if you want to hear our further thoughts about Denny.
That Iron Man issue is very good. His Spider-Man is very bad.
Listen, he Parker has Hydro Man. I can't really complain.
That's the best part. That was the best thing he did.
That was he did Mudman, wasn't he, or was that someone else?
That was his last issue. Was the Mudman story?
That was special.
And let's never forget, he created Ra's al Ghul and he named Optimus Prime.
Yeah.
No, here's the thing: is that like he basically redefined the DC pantheon. But we don't talk about his Marvel stuff as much. In some ways, that's for the best.
He was he had a big part, I think, in Miller's Daredevil. I think.
Did he?
He
brought him. He brought him in.
No, he was the editor.
He was the editor, and I think he got Frank Miller. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he actually got Frank Miller into the whole martial arts thing. Like they would go and I heard they would go and take classes or something.
I think that was actually mentioned as an aside in Marvel's The Untold Story. Which, if you haven't read that book, I would highly recommend it. All right, Sins Rising Part 2. Nick Spencer is the writer. Marcelo Fiera is the penciler. We pick up right where we left off. We pick up where we left off, where they had this thing called the Catalyst. If you guys remember a few issues back, we had the Living Laser, Grey Gargoyle. It feels like we're in a 90s Iron Man cartoon for a brief second.
Grey Gargoyle.
I am Iron Man.
Here comes the copyright strike.
Here comes the demonetization.
All right. Anyway,
you know what it needs? It needs more Dread Knights.
Ooh,
so needless to say, we open the issue with a heist, and so Spider-Man shows up in this really gorgeous splash page. I actually like the splash page, quite a bit. So again, they had been released from was it Ravencroft that they were at?
I think they Project Pegasus.
Oh yeah, Project Pegasus. That's right.
Or at least that's where Count Nefaria was. I don't know what happened.
So
the rest of the Legion was off somewhere else, and they're like, "Hey, where's Count Nefaria? Oh yeah, he's over there. Okay, let's go get him."
Count Nefaria, no green-skinned Mandarin.
Yeah. So needless to say, Senator shows up, slaughters them, and just puts bullets into everybody.
Pretty much,
but they're not
magic
real bullets. They're magic bullets.
Like it.
And then all the people
cheered.
All the people rejoiced as they watched the Sin Eater slay the sins of the unknowns.
I want to say that I love that touch that Spencer's getting on with people, and how that if that really happened, or if someone came in and would do this in real life, or in whatever, like this is what people's reactions would be. Like it'd be like, I really appreciated the fact that Spencer is trying to also speak about what society is a little bit like. And I want to say meta.
We live in a society.
Yes, we do.
Well, we do. But the thing is, like, I love the fact that he's talking about, like, this is people's reactions. Like this is something he has to deal with on a regular basis with social media. I saw it with the Cap, with his response with Cap, like with people responding and all this stuff. I love the fact that he's giving us an example of what people are like in a society. I mean, regardless of what you
right now, this is not as over the top on the commentary as maybe his Cap run was. I feel
Absolutely,
this is definitely has a little bit more of the art of subtlety, and I think he's trying not to sit there and paint a specific group one way or the other, because
I agree 100%.
On the polls. On the polar opposites of each side, you have these idiots on either side, and I think that this is you could apply this allegory to the left or the right if you're talking about the political atmosphere and climate.
I want to talk about that. I want to talk about that later. But what I realized here is, like, I was kind of worried it was gonna be like Superman versus the Elite, or What's So Funny About Truth, Justice, the American Way, in the way that, like, because Marvel civilians are well established as being absolute shitheads.
Yeah.
So. Right. I know you edited that out, but like they are well established as being.
I'm not editing it out. I'm just basically clicking the no. It's not for kids button anymore. It's just when we don't cuss, then I'll click it's for kids. When we do cuss, I'll say it's not for kids, and fine.
But but traditionally, Marvel civilians are not known as the brightest people on the planet. And so
they made this guy leader of the international espionage organization.
Yeah, and so when we see a masked man and we see a guy in a green mask and a purple sweater go in and kill 4 people.
Look how menacing
they start like I was thinking back to like was it ASM 27 when that happened in the slot arc? It kind of reminded me of that, and I wonder if that was intentional. But my point is that like it doesn't surprise me that Marvel civilians would cheer on a guy in a hood and a hoodie and a mask shooting up for supervillains.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's great too because you bring up a great point, Neil. That civilians in Marvel are usually crappy. Usually, and not usually, but a lot of times they're just dumb, or whatever. What I like about what Spencer does here, and that what you said too, Zach, was that you get different perspectives, and he does that in here. You have like the resident shithead with John Porter here, and he's like, "Dude, it was awesome." It's like Punisher, but not. And you also have the guy before him, like, we're in dangerous times. And and you have 4 different perspectives with the lady above that, and she's like, she says, people, why they applaud. She said, why are you asking me why they applauded? They applauded for a reason. Like they were gonna kill him. They were gonna kill everybody or whatever. Right. So I mean, you see perspectives, and I love the fact that Spencer is giving us the perspective of like people would cheer Senator on. Like this is not what he's doing. Is not necessarily a evil thing. It's like the Punisher, but he's a villain instead of like just being a vigilante.
And I do want to expand because when we get to like Spencer kind of dropping the subtlety, I kind of want to expand upon it. But
that's fine.
This is a very effective use of like
I agree.
Marvel civilians. Yeah, not necessarily their absolute worst, but not their brightest.
Yes.
Yeah. Right. So back to the recap. Count Nefaria, starts freaking out because basically he's realizing the error of his ways and that he's supposedly been cleansed of sin and you have to tell them I'm sorry, and he just has this emotional breakdown. And Peter's, struggling with the morality of this situation. And so, he's talking with Carly. Carly, I mean, this doesn't even look like Carly, but it's supposed to be Carly Cooper. Visibly shaken up.
It reminds me of this girl I was friends with. She looks like this girl I was friends with in high school. I'm not going to, almost down to a T.
So, needless to say, we have... the threats and menaces. What's her name?
Nora.
Blanked.
Nora
Winters.
Nora was a big racist.
Yeah, she gets blammed, and
this
that's
was
how the issue.
That was a good twist.
Yeah,
it was actually okay twisted. Yeah, next issue.
Yeah. And we are now to the next issue 47.
I was like, bleep.
So part 3.
Adam, you can swear. We've already established this is what isn't for little boys and girls.
It's funnier when you don't swear sometimes.
Yeah. So Nick Spencer and Marcello Ferreira are the same team that we had last issue. We pick up everybody's kind of you're talking about Ravencroft and you have this video. I guess it's taken in the backseat of Nora's car.
This is what I wanted. This is what I wanted to talk about. This video. So, for anyone who doesn't know who Elliot Rogers is, I'm not sure if anyone here doesn't know who Elliot Rogers is, but just to be clear, we know who he is, right?
I'm not familiar. The name doesn't sound familiar.
I'm nodding my head in agreement.
So for better context, imagine like the Christchurch shooter, but imagine like an incel version of the Christchurch shooter. And he made a bunch of like video diaries dialoguing like his manifesto and why he hates people before going on like this massive killing spree. I think he killed 14 people. What?
Yeah, which one was he? The which event?
Florida man. Hang on, I'll put a link in the chat just for a refresher because I'm doing this because this is relevant to my point. Basically, it reminded me of one of those videos, like the manifesto, kind of posting a video online of like your manifesto before going out to commit heinous acts. And I think Spencer here, when he's kind of dropping the subtlety but not like picking a side, like he's making a point that like these kind of people exist in the real world whether you want them to or not.
I'm not gonna lie, when I read this, I felt very much like this was like something that David Koresh would have done. Of the Waco situation. That's how old I am. even though I was like very little. But
I was wrong. This is the Isla Vista killing. This is the Isla Vista killings.
Yeah. So this is kind of like the David Koreshes of the world, the guys that are the fanatical religious zealots that, obviously we're talking about Christian stuff, and as a practicing Christian, I, tend to try not to, speak sacrilege, but these guys are not Christians. I mean, Sin Eater is not a Christian. He's just a zealot that's so warped and twisted that.
What I think is smart is that Spencer uses the radicalization pipeline, where he uses threats and menaces as his outlet to display his manifesto, because Nora essentially posts clickbait and conspiracy, and that leads people down a dark rabbit hole. And then when you find people like Sin Eater, people who already visit those kinds of websites are more easy to convert and radicalize into following your manifesto. Regardless of like the political spectrum ideology of it, Spencer brings up a very good point of like people who are susceptible to this type of content will be radicalized by it, and thus will do anything to justify their belief in that system, and that's what makes them so dangerous.
Well, and the best part about, I'll say this, the best part of this twist for me was the fact that when you see the ending and then to go to this page, you realize that flash that we saw was actually the muzzle of an actual revolver. And first of all, if you've never shot weapons, the way she's holding that pistol is not realistic at all.
I think that's the joke.
Yeah, well, probably, but like there's that close quarter. I have, as somebody that shoots regularly, I kind of I tilt my head to the side a little bit for sport. I don't shoot people. Let's be clear.
Not even those who deserve it. I'm kidding.
Oh my god.
Okay, Sin Eater.
He's going down a dark path.
You, my son, you are going down a dark path. Let me bring you to the light. To the light, I say. To the light.
Get the snake out. Get the snake out.
We must cleanse you of sin.
No step on Sneck.
I would not have made that joke if we weren't discussing Sin Eater.
Right. I appreciate that. Anyway, so
what did you want to say real quick?
There's a lot of
I'm good. Just keep going. Let's just keep going.
Okay.
Yeah.
We got a lot of comics to go over.
Yeah. So Jonah and Nora are having this moral conundrum between the two people. We cut back to the fight.
May I interject about that Jonah scene? I love that scene. It's a great depiction of the eternal debate. Yeah, I believe in free speech. I believe free speech is an absolute, but is everyone entitled to a platform? That one.
It's a very good use of Jonah as a character. Like, usually he gets like entire arcs focused on him, but like in this one scene, he showed a lot of his integrity, not only as a journalist but also as a person.
There is a sense of look. There's always questionable morality when you're talking about Jonah, and Jonah. I think anybody that knows Jonah knows that there's going to always be that, and I think that Jonah is also struggling with the fact that the news media, as a group, has fundamentally transformed in the last 15 years, and it's when you look at it, it's nothing like the Jonah that would be defending, journalistic integrity now, because it's so splintered. It's so you have your conservative, you have your liberal news media, you have there's so many outlets and there's so much stuff. What is news? Who's a publisher? Who's not a publisher? The debate that people on Twitter are having right now. What platforms are good? What are not good? What should be out there as speech? What shouldn't be out there as speech? It's very relevant to this time period that we're living in, but it's not done again in a very heavy-handed way, the way that other writers might portray it as. So I think
even Spencer 4 years ago might not have been this subtle about it.
Absolutely. So again, this is where the whole thing, where everybody starts learning about it. We finally find out what happened whenever Overdrive finally.
There you go.
It only took 45 minutes through this episode to get to that point. But so then, of course, everybody's like, "We'll take it from here." The cop showed up. They took his crime, took his confession. So and so looks like they might have offed overdrive. Who knows? Question mark.
We're talking about the cops. The cops beat up overdrive.
Yeah, the cops might have offed overdrive.
They didn't really off him.
They didn't. He's on life support.
Yeah, he's on life support.
He's clinging on, but.
All right, there's Paul. Welcome back, Paul. So anyway, then people start donning masks and they start showing up and they start being at it looks like the botanical gardens. And so then you start seeing the rise of the world, these zealots that are there to be the army. And so this is setting up, obviously, a lot of different things. And so there's a fight between Spider-Man and Sin Eater. And Sin Eater is like when he shoots people, he's been taking the powers of the people he shoots. So he's becoming even more of a vicious enemy. And needless to say, it all leads to the very last page. Who is Sin Eater going after?
Storm and Norman
Osborn.
Dun, dun, dun.
So, is this where Sins of Norman Osborn kicks in?
No, I think it's 2 issues from now.
It's right before 850.
Or sorry, I keep forgetting that there's 850.
Yeah. So it's the issue before 850. So here we are, 849. Sins Rising. Mark Bagley.
This issue.
Mark Bagley.
Love this
cover.
Issue.
Joe Sinnott.
Yeah.
Joe Sinnott they have the memorial to him. Lost a lot of great creative.
Yeah.
A lot of greats. So same creative team as last time. So
Bagley's back. Bagley's back.
Oh, that's right. They screwed up on the credits because if you look,
I assume Ferrier was supposed to be on the book the entire time, and Bagley was brought in last minute, like you said.
Yeah. So Bagley's been brought in once again. The return of Mark Bagley in this issue kind of opens up with how everything's going. The Sin Eaters are rising up. This is and then definitely have
creepy Norman.
For the first time, I think ever.
This is his. I think
maybe outside of flashbacks, this is his first living, breathing Norman Osborn. Just looks.
But like I was talking about earlier, like the radicalization pipeline is like this. This is Spencer kind of showing like the natural end. Like they're going out and doing the Sin Eater's will, but they're like to cleanse those who have sin. But when you get down to it, what is sinful? Sin Eater never answers that question, and so they take out their violence on whoever they think is guilty.
Whatever I don't like, basically.
Like they meet they're cornering some random guy in the subway. Miles makes a point that they bombed a mosque. Yeah, like it shows that like Sin Eater is out of control. Yeah, and people are using Sin Eater's, I guess, gospel as a justification to commit.
But here's the question,
I don't want to say bigotry, but
here's the thing: is
reprehensible things.
Does Sin Eater know that they're doing that in his name? That's
I don't think he cares.
Yeah,
I don't know.
But in his mind, his singular focus is cleansing the world of sin.
Exactly,
and it does not matter. And in his mind, I'm sure that he thinks that people that practice Islam are sinners because it's this twisted morality, Christianity, faux Christianity, I would call it, that he, idolizes and worships. So he would see the Jews or Islam as the enemies of his religious zealotry.
Now, I gotta ask you really quick because
ironic that he's following a demon.
He quotes scripture, but and this is where I like what Nick Spencer did here. He doesn't really claim the character Stan doesn't really claim to be Christian or anything.
But I thought in the old stories though that he was. He came across as a Catholic. I thought he.
But that's the point, Zach. Is that like it doesn't matter his religion. He's just going out and causing chaos in the name of whatever.
Exactly.
Of a warped. Yeah. I hate to say bigoted, but like a reprehensible cause. Doesn't matter what his justification for it is. Right. He's going to cause damage regardless.
Right, but he gives Sin Eater a reason. He being Nick Spencer to spout scripture because his grandfather was a pastor. Right, and that's the whole thing. Is like he grew up being like fire and brimstone, and for those who don't know what that means, it means like super legalistic Christianity. And
if you don't come forward today, God's through with you. The devil's got you. Like I ain't kidding you.
Yeah, means like if you don't find God, this specific, you are
going straight to hell. Yeah, there is absolutely no other way if you don't do the way things that I believe.
So with that, and again, it's been a while since I've read the Sin Eater stuff, the original stuff. But it seems like Nick is right here is not giving him an identity religiously at all. And that's one thing that I think is interesting. It's like, I just don't know. It's not clear, like you said, Neil. And I like that. I like the fact that I don't know what Senior wants. And I think it's interesting. It's more interesting that he's using the scriptures to twist again. And that's the whole, I think what also is that Nick is also, realigning is the fact that you can twist anything to be what you want it to be.
Absolutely.
And that's what Sin Eater is doing. And that's what he's doing to all these people here. And I love, and I think it's interesting. So I like these topics.
Yeah. Let me kind of blow through the rest of this recap. Basically, a lot of this issue is basically, is Peter and Miles having a very long conversation about, Miles basically says, you need to let Sin Eater take out Norman. We know what he's capable of across to the multiverse. We know what kind of human being he is. He's scum of the earth, not to mention what he's done to you personally, Peter, and how he's treated you. Again, suspiciously, the one thing that you don't see in these flashbacks is Harry Osborn. Gee, I wonder why. Anyway,
just real quick, I want to make a point that they still can't decide whether or not Miles is from the Ultimate Universe or not, or he remembers.
They did though, didn't they? Technically,
nope. They don't remember. Whether or not he remembers is what I'm saying. Whether or not he remembers.
Yeah, it's very ambiguous. So, needless to say, they all touch upon Sin Eater, and Sin Eater starts, transferring his powers, a la the Holy Spirit, whenever and during the Acts of the Apostles. I'm assuming that's what the allegory is here.
This is a perfect. Definitely.
It's the exact opposite. And so basically, then their job is to go in and cleanse Ravencroft of its sins. Mm-hmm. So Peter, and this is one of the most interesting 4 panels here on this page. That's a direct reference to Spectacular Spider-Man 200.
Yep. ASM 800.
Same.
ASM 800. ASM 122 or 121. And I love. I'm not gonna lie.
It ends on a snap.
It ends in a snap, and I'm like,
clever.
Oh, well done, you guys. So, needless to say, we have that big, Peter's kind of thinking through all the things that Norman's done, and then who shows up? But
your girl Gwen.
Your girl Gwen.
Man,
just as he was thinking about Gwen.
Speak of the devil and they shall
speak of the devil and she shall appear.
She makes a pretty dark joke there too. She's like, look like you've seen a ghost. It's like,
but I'm Tish.
Yeah. So basically he, kind of bears his heart out and says, look, you're the closest thing I have to an answer. But then I remember sending this to the friends in our Discord, and this is probably the biggest takedown of Saint Gwendolyn the First that I may have ever seen. Now, I don't love how this panel's composed. It just kind of looks a little weird, a little off.
It's the webbing. It's the webbing around it that makes it look kind of weird, I think.
Yeah,
I think the pose is weird myself.
I think the pose is weird in the way that just very weirdly done. But basically, she tells Peter that, listen, she lived her life good and bad, so it's your choice. It's nobody else's choice. Don't let what I'm saying going to influence you. So Norman, looks to be getting close. Julie Carpenter shows up, basically tells her that, look, he's going to kill again. And so
the web.
The order of the web.
Web.
And
Not a big fan of that.
Needless to say, Peter then goes into the office and he rescues Norman Osborn. So then the very end of the issue, which I'm not going to lie, I absolutely hate how Bagley drew Miles here with this.
Thank you.
Image.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
That does not look right.
I don't think this wasn't. I think this was a rush job page. I'm going to be honest.
It almost,
I
it almost
think so
away
too.
that
Also,
Ditko
why
was
is
the-
Jessica wearing her old suit, not her new suit?
Also,
But-
why is her waist look like she's been malnourished for the last 2 weeks?
She's been waist training.
Yeah.
Wait,
Oh, no.
wait, who?
Jessica,
Jessica?
look at
Jessica.
Jessica. Like, look.
Yeah. Well, it's
No,
also
it's
it's
the
just the way
suit.
it's the
Yeah,
suit. It's the way
it's
the
a
suit
suit,
looks.
yeah.
But anyway,
Oh,
this
right.
is one of my least favorite Bagley pages that I've ever seen.
Actually, I
But-
think Spider-Gwen looks fine.
Spider,
And-
yeah, she,
oh,
yeah,
and Spider,
I
whatever that one is. Spider
Madam Web looks a little weird. I don't know what it is about it. I think it's like the face. Looks
yeah,
blocky.
Madam. Again, I kind of feel like that this was definitely a rush job. So, all right, so 850, I did not buy digitally because I bought it.
Online.
No, I bought it here.
What did I say? Online.
I bought it at my local comic shop. I also bought 48. Here's the Bagley cover for those that haven't seen it. I actually think this cover. I don't hate the other cover, but I actually like this cover better because it feels like it actually, talks about what takes place in the issue.
We do need to talk about Sins of Norman Osborn first. Just
Yes, we
Okay,
do.
so let me pull that up real quick because I did buy that one digitally.
this is what stinks about doing these big long things because like that issue we just it's so much in that
Okay, so
comic, man.
before we get to Sins of Norman Osborn, let's pause like we did with the previous two issues,
Yeah.
the previous two, and let's talk about it for a second.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Because we haven't heard from her in a bit, Kelly.
Let's
you-
not
you-
right now.
Okay.
I will go forward as we go forward. I think it's probably better to do so because my brain is not there to go
brain's-
pull back, and I wasn't listening because I wasn't here. So
Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's go to Greg first, then I'll jump to Paul, then Neil, then Adam, and I'll get my thoughts.
Well, like before, I'm giving them an A-. They were really great. They weren't perfect. I wasn't the biggest fan of the non-Bagley artist, although I thought he hit the mood quite well. I mean, I have this weird thing with artists sometimes. I'll often think, not my favorite, but he captures the mood of the piece quite well, even if there are certain issues I have with it. But what really struck me the most is all about we've already discussed this, but Sin Eater's platform like that. The whole idea of free speech versus whether or not you're entitled to a platform, which I do not think anyone is actually entitled to such a thing. And how we need to be responsible to we grant those platforms to. Otherwise, you end up with. I mean, I know we've been making references, but one of the things that I thought about while reading these was a bunch of people in Charlottesville with tiki torches chanting "Jews will not replace us." I mean that which turned into a terrorist attack when
I didn't want to bring it up, but since you have, I think looking back and knowing Spencer's beliefs, that's probably like the closest analogy he was going for. But he's smart about how he goes about it. Like he doesn't outright say these people are like right-wing terrorists. He just says they're just regular everyday people who are using Sin Eater, who are using Sin Eater's words to justify their zealotry and destruction.
And the thing is, those that when you have people who live in fear or in a constant state of anxiety, they look for things. I mean, we're seeing this all the time. They look for for a simplistic answer to help them get through these anxieties. These are not always good things. We see it play out all the time in real life.
And it deals with otherizing and I think Spencer's form of otherizing in this particular scenario, devoid of like separating the real world from this book, is the idea of sin being the other. Like if you believe yourself as like the righteous crusader, anyone around you can have sin, and that's what leads to cults fracturing, is that they believe they are the holy crusaders.
And no one
Right,
will
and
ever
I
live up to their
my
standards.
response to those type of people is, when in the Bible that there's a story with Jesus approaching a man that's about to be stoned to death, and for breaking the law, and he pisses off the religious leaders there because he goes, "He who without sin cast the first stone." And then, obviously when he says that, everybody goes, "Well, wait," because the point he was making is that he might have broken the law, but you have to have compassion towards your fellow man, because ultimately that's what God wants. That was the whole point of what he was trying to say. And in this case, you have these people that are so full of hate and rage and fear, and fear no matter what it is. And considering what we just talked about, we kind of talked about how shitty the people of the Marvel Universe are, but you got to also think every week they're getting like the equivalent of 29/11s. When Galactus shows up and tries to eat the planet, what I'm saying?
Just recently they got this shit kicked out of them by plant people, and now they're about to be invaded by a bunch of symbiote dragons.
Exactly. Go ahead, Greg.
Anyway, what you were just about compassion brings it back around to Peter, because right now Peter's risking his neck for Norman Osborn, a man that he hates, but this is still an act of compassion from him. And let me tell you something, Peter Parker is a much better person than I am, because if I were one of the people talking to him, I would be like, Miles, just let Senator kill him.
And I think that's
I think that the point is that this is the overall point that I feel like that Spencer nails through this story. Peter Parker is about responsibility.
Yes.
Sure.
He views Norman Osborn, despite him being in a position of power, despite him being able to do whatever he wants, he feels that Norman Osborn, at the end of the day, he is his responsibility.
Yeah.
And the only person that can deal with him, because of his supervillain status, because of his intimate knowledge of his life and what he's done to him, despite everything he's done to him, at the end of the day, he's torn between the fact that, for as evil as he is, that's still his best friend's dad.
Yeah,
his father.
That's still a man that he did respect. Well, we'll get to that in a minute. But the conundrum. I also really enjoyed actually them addressing the something that had never been addressed up to this point with Gwen. The fact that Gwen and Peter had that conversation had been needed, but it really wasn't appropriate. I mean, how do you bring that up until now? I lost my Gwen, I lost my Peter, but for Peter,
Gwen
never
said, "Shut up."
Yeah, well, and Gwen's like, dude, quit putting me on the pedestal. Quit putting my counterpart on the pedestal,
and going
idealizing her, because she was a human being. I'm a human being. I'm going to make mistakes. My Peter made mistakes.
Something retroactively that makes the 616 Gwen Stacy a better character too, because we need that reminder.
Yes,
and skipping a little bit ahead to ASM 850, it's relevant, I promise. But like when they're in the submarine, and what scene I'm talking about,
we'll get to it.
They remember that Gwen isn't exactly a perfect person, and that's basically like calls coming to collect.
Well, and I'm going to say this. We can choose to ignore continuity or embrace continuity, and they're not ignoring any continuity here.
Hi, puppy.
Paul. Hi, puppers.
Aww.
Yes, sir. Yes. Bean is I call her a kitty because she's basically a cat with a dog.
That's basically how.
Aww.
That's how Benji is.
I these last issues, I might be a broken record here. It's an A-. This issue 49 is probably it's one of my favorite issues because it does a lot of different things. It addresses the Miles thing where a lot of people didn't, Marvel has not been specific of what exactly is Miles a part of it. Does he remember the Ultimate Universe? And I like the idea of the fact that we got this as a confirmation that he does remember who Norman is, and the fact that his Norman is different, but yet he understands Peter on a level that no one else can really understand. And I appreciate that. And again, you're using the continuity and Miles' character to the fullest advantage with Peter. And I think that it was nice to have Nick Spencer, again, embrace that aspect of Miles and not be, well, how do I address this? Well, you know what? We'll just say he remembers. You can easily write around and figure out how he fits into everything. I mean, if Jonathan Hickman can have him eat a freaking burger with Molecule Man and have him, wind up in the, freaking 616 universe and then whatever, you can figure this out. I mean, come on. I loved the Spider-Gwen and Spider-Man talk. It was, like you said, Zach, it was so needed. And again, very delicate because it with Spider-Gwen, you couldn't want to fall in that trap of, this is something that you can just easily just kind of write around and be like, no, Peter, you're right. Like, this is what Gwen would feel. And I think that's the laziest way to do it. And I love the fact that you give Gwen her own agency. Like, she has, it's a different person. She acknowledges that and say, listen, like, I am not the same person, but this is what I would do if I were, this is my perspective, but I'm not the same person. And I love that fact that, like, it's Peter wanting to get something. You see his point, and I think we all can agree that we would, if we were Spider-Man, the temptation would be there to ask that. And I think that it was nice to address that, but also not give it what we all would assume would happen. So I love it. I think this is great. Great story. Again, not a lot of action necessarily in this comic, but great progression of the story. And again, the brilliance of Nick Spencer, he's pushing things forward without having to have cars flipping over and Spider-Man punching Green Goblin 8 times or whatever. It's just very mild in that way. And I love the fact that we got a lot of things that kind of answered or at least addressed. And again, Miles and Spider-Gwen, I love this issue, and the cover is phenomenal. It's a great comic, so I love this comic.
Real quick, I'm going to be that guy, but I honestly think this could have been compressed down to one issue, the last issue and this one maybe.
Yeah.
Probably.
Like I get they kind of needed the page space for the Miles bit and the Sin Eater, like his cult going out and doing his will. But that could have either been compressed into one issue or like spread some of it back into Sins of Norman Osborn #1.
Yes.
Yeah. Can we talk about the Order of the Web for a moment? I've seen a lot of different opinions on them, and I'll admit, while I can be a little bit old school, my personal preference is towards Peter Parker being a unique Spider hero. I also know it's not the 60s anymore, or the 70s, or the 80s. I feel like, despite similar power sets, these characters are all different, have different things to say, different voices, and represent different kinds of readers at the same time. I mean, there's a time in my life I would have been a little bit annoyed by their presence, but no, I mean, I think that they are contributing to the story. I think they are contributing different viewpoints, and it's 2020. I think.
I think people just boiling them down to being the diversity squad or being somewhat reductionist in their take on the situation. Like, I understand, this could easily just be a Peter story, and I understand that sentiment. But these are people who have known Peter for some time. Even Anya and Cindy have known him for years. In our time, not necessarily in their oddly shaped, warped, non-linear timeline.
Yeah.
But the sentiment is very much appreciated that these characters have something to contribute to talk Peter down from. They care about him. Like we'll see in the next in the Sins of Norman Osborn one shot. They want him to be okay, and they're trying to stop him for his own good. And whether or not they succeed, the sentiment is still appreciated. And again, I think calling them the diversity squad is incredibly reductionist to their relationship with him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I just think it's kind of condescending of how we view these characters.
It's extremely condescending.
Yeah.
It is.
It's offensive in my opinion, but that's just me.
Yeah, I've never. I don't feel that. To me, calling them the diversity squad is just it leaves me it leaves a bad taste in my mouth because one, I feel like Norman is definitely a character that I'm sorry, ADD kicked in.
That's okay. It happens to me all the time. So
it's fine. I mean, I was disassociating earlier, so.
But you
just got really weird. Anyway, guys, what I was gonna say about this is I kind of understand why it was split into two, and I don't think that it really needed to be condensed. I do still wish that like Julia's stuff was different because it's flimsy at best.
Yeah.
But there's a reason that they're all here. Sure. You know, like you guys said, like they're not just a diversity squad. Like they are supposed to represent all these people that Peter has come in contact with, that Peter's sins have essentially had some kind of reflection on in certain ways. And that's kind of the whole point, because it's the one thing about Peter is he wants to ease the suffering of others always. That's why he's out doing what he does. Mm-hmm. So these are the visual representations that we see, you know, especially in further issues, kind of get cut away or get affected by these sins. And that's that's why they're there. So story-wise, they needed to be split up so everyone had the same time for pacing.
Yeah.
But I mean, and I do feel like not a lot could have been slimmed down out of it, other than Julia needs some change, maybe a page or two to actually fully explain what the heck she's talking about.
Yeah.
But I still have my head canon on
Witch Talk hexing the moon.
Well, yeah, Witch Talk's hexing the moon, but also like the Annie's in the web weaver now, so maybe all of this is just being jumbled because she's getting told what to do by like a 16-year-old. I don't know.
With like an ADD rattled 16-year-old.
Yeah.
But that said, I think if like, and I'm going mainly off of like reactions that I've seen to like the Spider family. Like if your biggest complaint is that like they're there, then your priorities are horribly skewed.
Right.
Like I get like people who say like, oh, Miles doesn't really have a whole lot of personality separate from Peter.
Yeah.
But like that there are way stronger hills to die on than just, oh, they're here.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I don't disagree. So again, I believe that definitely there is some pacing issues with this arc, but I felt like we were kind of somewhat padding to get to the big boy.
Yeah.
850.
Yep. Yeah, boy.
This is so thick. I just need to point this out. It's that thick.
Yeah.
It actually has it actually has a spine to it.
Oh yeah.
Real quick, we never actually talked about. You want to just blow through sins real quick?
Yeah, blow through the sins of Norman Osborn, because like I don't know where my copy
many
went.
of them.
Yes, there's a lot of sins. Okay, so the Order of the Web is basically talking about how they all saw Peter dying in different visions based on their experience with him. And they all decide, okay, so if Peter's not going to stop Norman, we're going to do it for him and stop him from saving Norman. And so they form the Order of the Web. Julia is aware of Kindred, as far as I'm aware, and they go further than that once Last Remain starts. But Sin Eater kills / cleanses Martin Lee, Mr. Negative. Yep. So he uses Mr. Negative's powers to burst open Ravencroft.
Yeah.
And he takes over Dr. Kafka, and they free Norman's prisoner, the Juggernaut, which is a dumb move that Norman should have totally known better not to do. So Sin Eater shoots the Juggernaut, and Peter's like, "You idiot! What are you do? What was your thought process in taking control of the Juggernaut?" Because now we had to recreate Nothing Can Stop the Juggernaut in 850. You fool. And Norman says, for better or worse, we're in this together, or to the bitter end.
Uh-huh.
And also, he's got the pumpkin bombs and everything. Like, he's got a whole little armory in his office thing
behind his old cell.
In his evil laboratory that totally wasn't there when he was in Ravencroft as a patient. That's it. I would give that one a solid. I liked this one. I thought this one progressed the plot way more than the other two issues. Like, I understand why like we had those two last issues to, like, have the evolution of Sinator's cult, but it kind of felt like, you know, the stakes took too long to get there. But this issue, like, very good at pacing itself internally as well as progressing the plot of the overall arc. This felt like a natural, like a good peak to hit before hitting the 850.
Sure,
agreed. And I just love Osborn needling Peter.
Yeah.
It never gets old.
Yeah.
And I do like that Madam Web is kind of responsible for the team screwing up later because she's refusing to let them in on the whole Kindred thing.
That's what I don't like about that whole thing. Because they're not really doing anything. They're just there, and it's like, oh, can we do something now? It's like, no.
Well, I think that's the point, is that Madam Web is basically causing the team's own failure by stalling them, preventing them from acting, but then also getting upset because, why is the web is web is telling me what to do.
Right.
So,
but I also think it's a way for Nick Spencer not to kind of not have her be completely foresee everything and not have that as a plot device later on.
Yeah, she's not an exposition machine.
Exactly. The fact that it prevents that from ever happening and people being like, why don't just Madame Web is figure this out? It's, he's establishing that there's something messing her up and she's not going to get things right. So, which again, I like that idea, but
we joke about Madam Web being the world's worst psychic for good reason in some respects, but I think in some ways it does work both on a narrative level I agree, but as well as a plot level because not artificially, but it not only does it keep her from being like the omniscient, seeing the full road ahead of her.
Yes.
But it also works because in the end, and when we talk about Last Remains in full, it'll make a lot more sense. But she ultimately kind of causes the slowdown that leads to them getting possessed.
Yeah, and I think that it's again showing that Kindred, she can't foresee Kindred, and Kindred is way more powerful than even the web. And I think like it's almost like you have Mephisto, Doctor Strange stuff. And the web of life is right underneath it, where as far as like power level or importance, if you will, if that makes any sense. And that's what it feels like.
Like mystical, like cosmic mystical importance.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's like, even though I love the more mythological elements of Spider-Man, that's why I love Straczynski's the Order and everything. I always love that. I always love that aspect of it. But again, I liked how Spencer basically is telling us Spider-Man may have those elements, but it's not that level. And I think that's why the inclusion of Doctor Strange, it all makes sense. So, I like that. And by the way, I also miss Julia being Spider-Woman. Just going to say that right now. I miss old Spider-Woman.
Yeah, me too.
That's fair.
I've never really liked her being Madam Web.
I'm fine with it.
They did have to give her something to do because Jess took her name and then the only thing she's done since Force Works is she had her kid taken away by Carol in Super Ice.
Right.
Oh, for I love Force Works, and plus her name was something different too. It was Arcana. Arachnid. Arachnid. So give her Arachnid again. Give her the black costume. I missed that black costume.
Anya has it kind of.
It's different. I want OG costume.
Oh
OG.
yeah.
Anyway. Give Anya back her Aranya costume and then just give Madam Web the black and whites.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
So,
anyways,
maybe give Aranya's name, and maybe make her a unique character.
Yeah. Hey, I got a roll. But this has been awesome. And
Really?
Man, we were just about to get to 850.
I know. I got guys. I haven't even ate dinner yet.
Oh,
I'm
all
starving.
right.
So,
All right. So we're gonna get to 850 without Paul.
Well,
what's your
quickly,
grade?
I think it's an A+. It's so good.
A+. All right. Even the backups?
I don't count the backups.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I didn't read the
Backups were okay.
I forgot they were backups. In this issue.
Exactly, Neil. No, really quickly. Not to get into too much what you guys are going to talk about. I'm just going to say I love the artwork. It was phenomenal. It was just a great capper, but also an extension of what we're going to get into, which I cannot wait to dive in deeper. And that's what I'm really excited about the show.
Right. Yeah.
Is the fact we're doing this for like 20 issues, and it's hard to talk about and keep us all like contained. Whereas now we're going to go a little bit deeper into this phenomenal art.
The deep dives are coming.
Yeah, and I can't wait to get into these discussions with everyone. I really am, and I'm really excited. And you guys are all awesome. So yeah, this is great.
We'll be talking about things like these issues.
Yes, and I can't wait. I cannot wait to dive into this. So especially with today's reveal. I met Neil. I almost sent you a message.
Real quick, Zach, you forgot to remind me.
I forgot to get the clip.
Put that clip on r/poorly aged things because I beat you.
He did beat
I
you.
win.
You said
Guys,
specifically.
What if somebody is like literally reading this?
Oh God, he's
us,
using
like,
his magic. Paul's using his witch magic to kill my camera.
Well, yeah, that too.
All right. So we're gonna get to that, but we'll talk about that soon. But I will be trying to get the clip because I think it's gonna be just something that ages poorly on Reddit. All right, buddy. All right, we'll talk to you soon.
Sorry, guys. See ya.
Have a good one.
All right.
Before we move on, I do want to give credit to the artist of the Sins of Norman Osborn one shot, Federico Vincentini.
Yes,
I really like his art.
As your camera spazzes.
Yes, yeah. as I die, as I vanish into the ether, I like the art. Okay, moving on. Big boy time. Let's go.
All right, so this is the main event. This is the last issue we're covering tonight. It's 850. I have the cover saved. The big bad boy, the 100-page monster, the issue that everybody was waiting for.
Yep.
The issue that I have. I've been waiting to do this for like a month, but I have hanging up on my wall this cover, this big bad boy. Let me blow myself up.
I've got one that you sent me. I just haven't had a time to frame it and put it on my wall yet. Mostly because I live in a prison box that I don't know how long I'll live here for.
Mm-hmm. Here we go. Here it is. The bad boy.
There it
is.
is.
The lovely poster.
Hey, there's Godzilla.
There's Gog. There's the Rhino and Chameleon.
Glenn Gorblin.
Yeah.
The Green Goblin and Craven the Hunter.
Now, hang on. You got in the background. You've got Station Name and Occupation, Lizard Man, and Lizard Man.
The funny thing is even Moreland showing up kind of was is teased.
Oh, that was unironically really good foreshadowing. I just assumed that was like
the only one that hasn't shown up in this cover is actually Otto
and Venom.
Oh yeah, Venom. Yeah.
Well, but he's off dealing with the dragons that will never come.
Right. Yeah.
I almost hit my dog. I didn't realize he was there because it just was a black blob.
Oh no.
Well, he blends in with that couch. And so, like, when he's, like, got his head buried and he's taking a nap, and it went over his head, and he looked up at me like, dude, really? I was like, my bad.
Also, you guys didn't hear me when I stepped away because I totally didn't mute my headset when I walked.
You're good.
Okay.
No, I didn't. We heard nothing. All right, we are at 850. I don't have the issue digitally because it's $10. So I paid the $10. I paid the $10 for the actual issue. So real quickly to go through this, it's broken up into 3 chapters. Chapter 1 is called Unstoppable. It's basically Norman and the Green Goblin fighting side by side while this floating heads of guilt. Norman as the Green Goblin and Peter Parker are fighting side by side. Just to tell you who the artwork is, Nick Spencer's the writer. Humberto Ramos, Mark Bagley, and Ryan Ottley are back. Return of the Green Goblin in Part 1 Unstoppable.
Can we get enough in the chat for Ryan Ottley, by the way, because this was his last issue.
I was about to bring that up. This is Ryan Ottley's final issue on Amazing Spider-Man, at least for now, because we thought that Bagley would never come back to Amazing Spider-Man. But anyway, so the floating bodies of guilt are watching this whole scenario go down.
It's astroplane bullshit.
Yeah, in the kind of not in the astroplane, but in the astroplane, we have a wonderful tribute to Chadwick Boseman. Rest in power, Chadwick Boseman.
Written by Ta-Nehisi Coates, who, if I remember, he went to school with Boseman.
Yeah,
so I think
he went to school with Boseman. Also, is the current writer of Black Panther
and Captain America,
and Captain America as well.
Oh wait, Black Panther is important to Chadwick Boseman though. So
yeah.
So needless to say, there's been this change with Sin Eater, and we get this big hulking bad boy Sin Eater here.
We'll talk about that.
Big jugs.
Yeah. The juggernaut. It's the juggernaut eater.
I'm the juggernaut, bitch.
I was really trying to avoid making that joke.
Well, now I've done it for you. So.
I mean, I didn't make it, so shoot.
Mm-hmm.
Normally, it would be me. So obviously, I'm off my game today. I apologize. I'm going to continue to apologize.
You're
I
fine.
wish that.
Don't apologize.
I literally I know you guys couldn't hear it because thankfully this is a really good mic, but it was so loud I couldn't hear anybody else. Just their TV.
Wow. So Norman and not Juggernaut Eater, and Peter are fighting it out, which then cuts. So that's how the fight starts. But then we jump to Return of the Green Goblin, Chapter 2, The Debt. So we cut kind of where Norman and Peter are kind of talking about how what they're going to do, what their plan is. Meanwhile, Gwen is it's not. She's trying to be the voice of reason in this entire situation.
Right.
Norman and Peter keep fighting the Juggernaut Eater and
Sinnernaut.
Sinnernaut.
I feel proud because was I the one who coined that term? I don't think I was the person who coined it, but I felt proud for thinking of it on my own without.
I don't know.
So basically, Peter's solution to this entire problem is to literally bring tons and tons of rubble down on them, including on themselves. And so we then get this brief moment where Norman is basically talking about, he's like, do you remember the first time we met, Peter? I mean, truly met. Face to face, and I bared my soul to you. I confessed my darkest secrets. And remember what you did in return? You rejected me.
I started this goblin suit. Sacrifice.
There's some Defoe in this monologue.
Norman, that is so not how it went down.
I always hated you for that. I was a kid, Norman. I was scared. So was I. You can't imagine what it was like in those early days. The voices, the side effects of the serum. I was losing control.
Trying to become a crime lord.
Yeah. And then I met you. You wore a mask like me. We both played Joker and Dan. This is very reminiscent of the Paul Jenkins family.
Very.
So basically, he talks about
which
how
is
much
good because I like Death in the Family. I know some people don't, but I appreciate that that Norman.
Mr. Coffee and his latte of doom.
And basically, Norman's like, how much he talks about how much he hated you, and after you spurned me, after you bested me in battle, as my lab went up in flames, you still decided to save me instead of let me die. And so basically, somehow he lived in the debt, and so now the debt, consider the debt paid. So
I don't know. Well, he says, "Oh, I've got this debt," but then I'm going to throw your girlfriend off a bridge. Okay.
Yeah. Let's not talk about Gwen, but we'll talk about Gwen in a minute. So,
oh no.
So now we're at the very bottom of Ravencroft, which is basically the lab. Juggernaut corkscrews his way using Whirlwind's powers. So you got the powers of Juggernaut meets Whirlwind, and basically he's like, no more running. So to the bitter end, they're going to fight, and as they jump headlong into battle, we then cut to chapter 3. Your choice. So Norman and this part's drawn by Mark Bagley. Norman and Peter are fighting back and forth, and so basically they come up with the solution, which is how did he beat the Juggernaut the first time? Well, he put him in a pile of cement, and so they start, working on this on the magic gizmo, and Peter basically is ready to sacrifice his life.
Well, he expects Norman to come back and get him, and then I do love this bit where Peter's like begging, it's like, Scar, help me, and then Norman slowly starts pushing him under. It's like, no, I don't think I will.
Long live the king. So needless to say,
Kelly,
Norman
can you do a
in
Simba
this
cry?
really
What?
creepy.
I was gonna ask if you could do a Simba cry for Lion King. Never mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, that works. Yeah, there.
So we get this really creepy Norman Osborn. Let me blow myself up again because I have the book in my hand, so I might as well blow myself up. All right, so we get this really creepy Norman, and then he kind of has this goofy grin on his face, and then he's like, Peter's like, "We had a deal. The debt's already been paid." Oh, maniacal Norman right there. Right there.
I love Bagley's maniacal Norman.
So he just sticks Norman.
Goodbye.
Or Norman just sticks his head straight in there, and it's like you think, oh man, he's gonna kill Peter. And he's like lamenting on the fact, I really wish it would have been with pumpkin bombs, but in fact it was not. But then, in a twist of fate,
the Spider family shows up.
The Spider family show up, and who knocks Norman off his game? Gwendolyn.
Of course.
The tables have turned.
Meeting we have been waiting for since Spider-Gwen was introduced.
So, anyway, he's like, I told you it would work out on the end, basically, and so everything's going to calm down. And then we get this scene that may be the most controversial scene in the book.
Hang on, can I do the sound effect?
Uh-oh.
Yes. That's so gross.
That's the point.
Why?
All right, but why? All right, so back to, let me remove this and get back to our five person panel. So, all right, we have this scene with Norman and Gwen. Basically, Norman sniffs Spider-Gwen, and he's like,
"Oh wait! Oh no! I should have been looking at my phone."
Oh no!
No. Okay, I'm gonna write it in chat. I don't think everyone needs to know what just happened there, but my eyes and my brain, I need bleach in my brain.
My sides are in orbit.
So, needless to say, Norman starts, kind of talking to her, like, I'm just thinking about, I prefer to focus on the happier times. And, Peter just gets pissed.
Oh, yeah. He's pushing all the buttons now.
And he's basically being the most magnificent bastard in the world. So, I'm sure we can keep her around for a while. And so then,
how old is this version of Gwen supposed to be?
19.
20-ish?
Yeah, 19.
I thought
maybe 20 by now, but I think for the most part she's 19 because Miles is still 17, right?
I remember in the I think in the 2015 the relaunch after Secret Wars said she was 20.
Yeah, so
okay.
Yeah.
Not much better, but
yeah, nevertheless, Peter starts thinking about all the deaths, all the situations of Gwen and Harry and Flash, because we kind of tend to forget that he did kill Flash Thompson.
He did,
and so basically, then Norman says the magic words.
We wouldn't want you to snap, would we?
We wouldn't want you to snap, would we?
Well, because that's what he wants. That's what he wanted.
And that's what he wanted. was to have his ass be thrown out the door.
Well, I think he wanted Peter. I think he wanted Peter to kill him because that would escape. He would escape Kindred that way. That would be his easy way out.
Yeah.
But instead, Peter made a pact, as it were, with.
So Anya asked the question, "What did Peter just do?" And Peter says he made a different choice, but
Good for him.
no, apparently, according to Madam Web, he didn't. So we then get the final page, 2 pages, where Norman obviously survives the situation. We have the tomb of Ottley right here.
I joked on the Discord a while back that Gleason killed them all and then disguised himself as Bagley.
So, needless to say, Kindred is like, no matter how deep you lay them in the ground, they never stay buried. To be continued. And I'm not going to even talk about the backups because they're not worth talking about. So
they
were okay.
I like the Trad more one, but it wasn't like what I would call.
All right, so here we are, big anniversary issue. We've been building up to this. Obviously, the next episode we'll be covering specifically the Last Remains arc. I don't know when that will be because the Last Remains arc is so big. We may have to break this up into separate episodes.
Oh yeah.
Just because 50 is a double-sized issue. 51 and 52 are regular-sized issues. 53 came out today as we're recording this.
Yeah, well, at least there's nothing of importance happens in 53. So
Nothing at all.
Spoiler alert.
Real quick, I do want to point out that
all I'm going to say is 53 finally reveals the face of Kindred.
There we go.
53.
but we already.
It reveals it to Peter. It reveals
it to Peter. There we go.
Yeah,
Yes.
because 50 really issue 50, which I have the Alex Ross cover. Issue 50, like you find out through characters who it might be. The confirmation on the page happens 3 issues later. A very, very intense story. Very, very big issue.
Yeah, we'll
All
get
right,
there,
so
real quick before we go into grades, ASM 53, in my opinion, does anyone know what Zoom posting is?
No.
Yeah.
What?
Zoom posting. So Reverse Flash. It was revealed that Reverse Flash was the one who murdered Barry's mom.
Oh yeah.
And so from now on, everyone, whenever Reverse Flash shows up, they always post this picture of him from Flashpoint Productions with a cup of coffee, and it's like, it was me, Barry. I did thing in your life.
Mm-hmm.
Like I threw a chicken at you when you were 13. I did ambiguously sexual thing to you when you were a child in order to piss you off.
What?
And so
God.
Neil?
people on the internet have a sick sense of humor. No, I don't like it. But that's
Okay.
that's
Well, I
that is
wasn't
Zoom.
assuming you liked it. I was assuming that we needed to have therapy time.
yeah,
No, it's too late for that.
Okay, great.
Yeah. Let's
we'll get
continue your point, and then we'll go around the room.
It's basically like one big shit post. That's what I'm saying.
Sure.
Okay.
So, all right, 850 grade. I'm going to give this an A minus. I thought the way they did the artist was really inspired.
Sure.
You could tell that I feel like Bagley had a little bit more time to catch up in this issue because you could really feel that the artwork kind of was much more consistent, much more to Bagley's level than he did before. I did misspeak earlier, and I'm sure somebody was like typing it furiously in the chat. There is one time he did draw 616 Norman Osborn. It was the Pulse miniseries or maxi series.
Well, yeah. No, that was not in the private chat whatsoever.
Was it in the private? See, I don't.
No, that's what I'm
busy.
saying. It really wasn't. I literally, the last thing is me writing about what happened when you said that Norman sniffed Gwendolyn, and what I was reading while you said that, and where my brain went.
All right.
The internet is a fun place, wouldn't you say?
So this is technically not I mean, even though he drew Norman with like ultimate hair, technically that was supposed to be 616 Norman, but nevertheless, at the end of the day, this is first time drawing Norman Osborn and Amazing Spider-Man and doing it. So, great use of the artist. Ramos, I think some of his finest work. This is definitely not deadline Ramos. This is Ramos that was able to take his time and really be able to shine. I thought really great artwork by Ramos. Ottley, what can we say about Ottley other than we're really sad that this is his last issue?
Yep.
I hope he continues to do covers. He's done some great ones. I really liked 850's.
It does sound like he's happy with what he's done. I don't think it was any bad blood between anybody. I think he just wanted to do something different. And I'm glad that he's getting to chase he has like the leverage to throw around to chase his ambitions.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, wasn't it like basically a 2-year contract that he agreed to, and he really had no intentions of signing on to do more work after in the first place.
Well, and I also think he wanted to stretch his wings and do Marvel.
Yeah. He's still doing Marvel stuff.
But with Spider-Man, that's what I was saying.
Yeah, but Spider-Man's done. I think he's done with Spider-Man. But I'm glad. Yeah. I'm glad that we had him as long as we did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he did a lot of issues. I mean, I'll count them up, and we'll talk about that probably next episode. But when I have a little bit more time to do that prep. But all right, what's everybody's grades? Let's go around. Let me do the grades right quick, and then we'll get into the discussion about the issue.
Okay.
Kelly, what's your grade?
We're doing letters and not random things, right? Because my brain's still stuck on what happened.
Yeah. This is letter grades.
Okay, A-.
A- for Kelly. All right. Yeah. Adam, grade.
I'll give it an A-.
A- as well. Neil?
B+, just like 1 point away from an A-.
Oh, just a smidge off of an A-. All right. Greg?
A-.
A- for Greg. I'm going to give it the same grade. So basically only Neil was different with a B+. A- for everybody else.
And even then I did say like I'm just a bit away from an A-.
Yeah,
so,
no,
an 80, like an 89.
Yeah.
I understand. Understandable.
See, now my brain
all right.
Nice.
Yeah, it's still an A-, I believe.
So. I'm sorry. Please be nice, Kelly.
All right. Anyway, but nevertheless, pretty high grades throughout all these episodes, issues. Issues that we covered tonight. We covered a lot. 850. I mean, could probably have been his own episode by itself, but I wanted we wanted to get to the point where we were last remains, so that way we've done all the volumes because volume 10 hasn't even come out yet. So for those that are reading in trades, that issue has not come out yet. It is going to be coming out, I think, in a month or two.
It's like the end of this month or next month.
December 22nd.
Next month.
Looking back, I think I was on average, I was the lowest grading person here, which is weird because I'm usually the one playing defense.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I do feel like looking back on the rest of the arc, I feel like that there was more padding. I agree with you, Neil, that there was a lot of chest setting up to get to this point, and then 850 was just this big blow off issue. I kind of feel like I could have done without the backups and done, you could have probably combined 49 and 48 and 49 together, and maybe or added that into this issue. But either way, the fact that they were able to get an issue fresh off of a pandemic where everything was shut down, and you get something that's bound this thick, you definitely, and yes, you're paying $10 for a comic, but you're getting a lot for bang for your buck.
You're getting a spine.
Yeah.
They could have just stapled it together.
Yeah.
Okay, so I agree with that. Like, I do like the binding. I do like the fact that like it's weighted. It feels right. Like for the price point, I do agree on some people saying that it was too expensive because I do feel only about 3/4 of the issue is worth it.
Yeah.
Yes,
there's certain parts of the story, like even though like I still give it A-, like I still love it overall, there's still those little side stories that it's just not.
No one cares.
To me.
Yeah, you didn't need that.
Well, it wasn't necessarily no one cares. It's just it was fat. Like it doesn't make sense, at least not right now, and I don't think it will. Yeah.
No,
So
it's
why
it's
couldn't
kind of
we have
throwaway stuff a little
put
bit.
more stuff that exactly? And that's what I'm saying. Like for what you're getting, I wish that there had been more meat in it. I guess
Sure.
like there had been like something to fill it out than just throwaway stuff. Because I feel like at that point that was kind of the intention was let's see what we can do to fill the story up, and it just wasn't
Mhm.
meaningful, especially once we start like kicking off, normal ASM and .lr, where up until this recent issue today, while we're recording 53, it's been bam, 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 because this is kind of that lull in this current issue, which is fine, but it's like that. I don't know. It's a weird. It feels like a slightly weird pacing in some of the book.
I think if my suspicions are correct, they could have taken that page space where you had like the useless Busick Baccello backup or the trad. And as much as I did like the Trad Moore one, but I thought it was kind of unnecessary. And then what was the other one? It was Ahmed and it was the Starling one.
Yeah,
those stories could have been removed. They could have done like some kind of like Last Remains, I guess, prelude, like transition from Sins Rising to Last Remains.
Yeah,
and I would have been a lot happier with like it would have been way more value because we're getting more progression of the story and not
or even just like doing a prequel thing towards what we're about to see. Like I kind of understand why they probably didn't do that, but also like something that maybe would have encapsulated like just Spider-Man, like, and just kind of over the years would have been helpful. I think more towards what's currently going on than stuff like Tina No Shoes.
And briefly, they did include the Free Comic Book Day book, which was basically a Black Cat and
I liked that.
That was fun.
The team up.
It was kind of fun.
Yeah.
So the team up was fun, but it is included in the trade.
Yeah.
That's we could have even gotten like a abridged version of like what the second MJ arc was supposed to be, like her going into Montana and doing nothing because nothing happens.
No, we don't even know if she actually technically. We know she went to Montana, but we don't even know how long she stayed.
What she did. Yeah.
She apparently came back from LA. So like I don't we don't know.
I like to imagine so the date that Peter's on in ASM 45 is the one that is the one that's in Amazing Mary Jane #6, right? So I like to imagine that MJ somehow went on a globe-trotting adventure or like a witness protection program caper all in one day, and then came back just in time for everything to go to hell in her personal life.
So obviously we'll definitely
she's
be
riding.
talking
I'm
about
riding high, baby.
Okay,
so Mary Jane does have a role to play in the next episode.
Yes. But also on top of that, just like I guess as a prelude to the next episode, on just so everyone understands how ridiculous this is. In Amazing Mary Jane #6, like she wasn't even like none of it was technically like protocol by the NYPD. It was just an investigator at the NYPD was like, oh, I know that sounds a lot like that murderer, like mafia hit guy. I need to put you in witness protection. But she doesn't even have like her ID on her because she left her purse at the talk show. So like none of this is making any sort of sense. So like all I can imagine,
it's almost as if this was hastily put together to expand into a second trade paperback after the first.
And then it
successful
didn't work out
issue.
anyway.
When the writer was clearly more invested in X Factor.
Oh yeah. But what I was gonna say though is my personal headcanon on this is she went all the way to Montana on that helicopter, and then they realized, oh shit, we can't even process you in witness protection, so we're sending you back.
Okay, bye.
Yeah, bye. hey, the Sin Eater is maybe the Sin Eater shot him and cleansed the murderer of his sins.
There you go.
And then the helicopter pilot's like, hey, so maybe don't go on some bridges.
Yeah, exactly. So, needless to say, we definitely have a lot that we're going to be covering. But okay, so Kelly, I'm gonna give you the complete floor.
Oh God.
Give us your thoughts about 850, and it is yours.
The main story is great. The side stories were pointless, as I stated earlier. I enjoy Norman being Norman, and that's really all what the main story is about. And it's good. Like, I'm glad he's creepy because he should be creepy.
Yeah.
Does it make you uncomfortable? Yeah. All right. Good, because that's Norman.
There you go.
You know, he should never really truly be like the truly charming person, because he's not charming. Like, that's kind of the whole point. He thinks he is. He's not. All of the Osborns have a level of creep about them, and that's kind of the whole point.
'Cause I'm a creep.
Oh, God.
They are charismatic. Is the best way to put it. Not in a good way.
They had
Yeah.
this weird magnet. I mean, obviously it was described in Sun's Past.
Oh,
Obviously,
you mean magnetism? You mean money?
It wasn't their hair, that's for certain.
listen.
No. Well, it's ramen
there's a
noodle
guy.
hair. It's ramen noodle hair.
There is a guy. I think it's in Georgia that
Yes,
actually
I know what you're
had
talking
the
about.
that actually has the Norman Osborn hair. I think he's like a county attorney or something like that. But like when somebody showed a pic, like I think it was Bleeding Cool somebody sent this picture to Rich Johnson, and he put it on there, and he's got the perfect part in the middle, and it's like the cornroll type thing, and you're like, oh my God, and it's red.
But
His hair is red.
It's not.
Oh,
so,
hang on, I think I found
again,
it. Is it this
not
guy in the beige
hard-
suit?
It's waves.
I'll look at it, but it's like wavy. It's like curly hair.
Oh, there
Yes,
you go.
it's that guy.
It's
and
this
wavy.
guy. Oh, I clicked the wrong
Wow,
button.
Greg.
There's
Yeah,
There
that
it's
guy.
like- Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, he's retired. I'm pretty sure my dad knows who that is. But anyway,
we need to have him do something as like
No.
Norman Osborn if you're
Oh man.
that
No.
would be funny. Come on.
no.
I remember he was
Anyway.
running the Iron Office at the time, and people said he should run as the Iron Patriots.
I'm something of a hairstylist myself, Peter.
Oh God. Oh man.
But no,
where are
I
we
mean,
going?
look,
But
here's the thing.
What-
Go ahead. I'm sorry. You got
no.
the floor.
You're
I'm sorry.
fine. It's fine. I was just gonna. All I'm saying is just it's nice to see him being written the way I feel like he should be. And I'm not going to say that it's necessarily the most perfect rendition, because it's not. But it's the first time in a long time he actually feels like himself, and so it's good to see the character in his element, back at it. We still I love the whole even though it doesn't, we'll probably never see what his plan was, but the fact that he was definitely up to something as head of Ravencroft, because he's building tunnels. Why is he building a tunnel to ESU? What are all these plans? What's going on? And of course, this is all stuff that's basically being thrown away, but it's so Norman
we'll
to
get them.
have
I disagree
10,000
with that.
plans.
I think that it's going to come up later when we get back to the ESU stuff, because ESU and the chameleon aspect of Threats and Menaces, I think, are the two things that are going to be picked up after this arc.
Yep.
Yes,
And-
but I don't think we're going to get it in the way that we
You
would
want it.
normally. Yeah, I think
Okay, I agree with that.
That's fair.
we might figure out a little bit more, but I think that this is just more of some of his abandoned plans, just like every, because way back in the day, he had so many plans he couldn't keep track. I mean, that was one of the running things on MC2 when with April
My
was
contingencies have
he didn't
contingencies.
and he didn't keep literally to cause commotion. He didn't keep track of who was a clone and what baby they were testing on and whatnot. So that's kind of, and that's Norman. He has it in his head, and that's fine. And regardless of everything else, because he's doing 20 different things.
Yeah, well, and at the end of the day, the only person that trusts that has Norman Osborn's trust is Norman Osborn.
But he
No one
doesn't
else.
even have it. He doesn't have his own
And
trust.
Hammer.
Oh, by Dark Avengers, he doesn't trust himself. That's the
that's
whole
true.
point, because he's that
Yeah.
paranoid.
So, Adam, your thoughts?
I liked it. I thought the art was really good. like you said, Ottley, Ramos, Bagley, they're all bringing their A game. I'm gonna miss Ottley, but I've accepted it. It's fine. Like
we went through the grieving process.
Yeah, like he left his mark on the character, I think, and
I feel like we lost an Ottley, but we gained a Bagley. So
yeah,
the sting of it kind of lessens.
And we got back Gleason like immediately after.
Yeah.
Which is that's good too. I think that's gonna work out pretty well.
Speaking,
I agree, like that. This issue. I think this issue should have just been the main story, and maybe like God forbid a letters page.
You mean God forbid?
Yeah, God forbid.
Yes.
Oh, Zach, you have no idea how jealous that makes me that you have that.
I
don't know where I'm gonna put it.
The backups they're fine, like it's like pass fail, they all pass in their own ways, but there's unnecessary, and like you could have had this, the story be like, the 60 or 70 page main story, whatever it is, and like sell it for $7 or $8 or whatever, and it would have been fine. Like I don't think any other like Centennial plus 50 issue has been treated like necessarily a big milestone necessarily.
In today's industry, it kind of is.
Yeah, now, but like I don't know. In the past, I don't think anything has really been treated with as much, pomp and circumstance or whatever as this. And I mean, it deserves it. Like it is a milestone. We're almost at 900, but I just think like you could have just had this be the 70-page thing without any of the fluff, and it would have been fine. Like, yeah. But yeah, good. It's solid story. Norman being creepy is good, like Kelly said. I like that Peter pushed him out. I was fine with that. I guess people like thought that like people like,
oh, you killed him, Peter Reed.
Yeah, people got upset about that, but I mean, like he didn't kill him. Like he just kind of left him behind, and it's like, well, Norman's crafty. Like he'll think of something, Like,
let's be honest. I'll probably dive more into this. It was probably the wrong thing to do, but
right.
That's the point. That's the point.
Yeah,
but the thing is like, but Peter sometimes makes the wrong decision, and he was blowing off steam.
I'll also say this. Okay, 50.
Yeah.
You could have cut 50 in half, taken out the backup stories, and made 50 just a normal issue.
Oh yeah.
Right,
easily
like
done
$1 more, right?
But Zach, you're forgetting they need to sell the oversized
$2
issue
more.
for more freaking dollars.
Yes, $2 more. It actually did have. Speaking of a letters page, it actually does have it has 1, 2, 3 pages of letters pages. There is a big reveal at the very end of this issue. Obviously, everything's been building towards this. We're not covering it tonight because we wanted to let 850 kind of have its moment to shine. And we've also obviously gone 2 hours.
Adam, that's not the appropriate reaction to have to what I just posted.
It was more to what Kelly posted.
So Greg, for your first time here on the show, what'd you think? What'd you think about?
I love this issue. I mean, let me begin by saying something. I probably love the character of Norman Osborn almost as much as J.R. Fettinger does. So I'm going to make that statement. I'm throwing that out there. So I remember when the hype machine was starting for this issue, the Return of the Green Goblin, and a lot of people were like, oh, we get a Green Goblin story every couple of years. But I was thinking in my head, I'm excited for this because I love what Nick Spencer is doing, because I feel like we haven't really seen Norman, at least the way that I would prefer to see him, as Kelly was talking about, in a very long time. The last time Norman Osborn was written this well was Warren Ellis' Thunderbolts. The last time it was written this well in a Spider-Man comic was Mark Millar's
Marvel Knights.
Yeah, down on the Dead Man, right?
Yes.
I mean, on the Dead Man.
I was not the biggest fan. I was not the biggest fan of the Red Goblin stuff, and and while I was enjoying him in Superior at first, I thought that ended with as anticlimactically like a wet fart. So I was.
It was me, Peter. I was Mason Banks all along.
Not even which I would have been fine with if the fight wasn't like page and a half with him getting
Right.
depowered. I mean, there are some things in here that confuse me, like why is he drinking the goblin serum there?
Oh, yeah.
The goblin,
because it got purged from him in Superior, and he's been trying to get it back ever since.
but he got it back in the Red Goblin arc.
Yeah, he did. He did.
I get okay. So I would assume this is a big logic assumption on my part. So bear
This is
with
a no
me.
prize. This is a no prize situation here.
This is a nose prize. This is a no prize. I almost said nose prize. What the hell's wrong with me? That Parker Industries has like some reserve of the cure. When Storm and Norman got captured again, they depowered him.
Okay,
Also, he got brain dead from motorcycles. So,
but you didn't have the Carnage symbiote again to take the nanites out again. So
Yeah.
it's not nanites. Well, the nanites are the distribution system, not the actual cure.
all right, fair enough. I mean,
Again, I am making some very big leaps in assumption.
and again, it's only a nitpick. I saw some people get upset about the whole thing with with Norman remembering the events of ASM 40 the way he did, and I'm thinking these are the memories and the viewpoints of a crazy person.
Sure.
Yeah.
Not remembering things that happened. Oh, we were just playing around with a couple of jokers. He rejected me. You're trying to become a crime lord.
Mm-hmm.
You were trying to take over Lucky Lobo's gang. You teamed up with the Crime Master. The first time we met, you lured me out into the Nevada desert to hit me over the head with a rock.
Right. Yep.
But it worked. I mean, if any other character was retconning a major story like that, I would have probably been annoyed. But this is Norman. He doesn't remember things the way that they often happen, and very selective memory from his perspective. And I thought it was a fascinating look at that character. And also, has he ever teamed up with Peter Parker or Spider-Man before the story? I don't think he has. We got something new here.
Yeah.
Which is,
I like that too. Yeah.
and it was a delight. And
I don't know why I thought of Dark Reign, but that was me being dumb.
yeah, and back to Norman being written correctly. I was glad when he found out Spider-Man's identity again during Red Goblin. I wasn't sure if that was going to stick, considering how his brain was wiped at the end. I'm so glad it stuck. It needs to be there, because ever since One More Day, I felt like something was lost when he didn't know who Spider-Man was. He did not know.
I mean,
It took the fangs out of their conflicts. Also,
Yeah.
Harry being alive with them, both fighting over the corpse of someone that they both loved in their own way.
Okay.
Also, the fang thing.
Norman being alive was a problem. I know people really like Revelations, but
well, no, I agree. I agree. Like, so this is my thing: is that it's a little bit hard, I think, for us because we were children or preteens, or in Neil's case, not born.
Not even. I wasn't even a fetus when this story came out.
You weren't even a glint in your father's eye.
Yeah.
And so it's when Norman is revealed, to have not died this whole time, that was a major thing.
Yes.
And it does, like, if you reread it, like, there's so much in the past that gets like that has everything to do with the fact that Norman died.
Yeah.
So this undid all of that. And of course he did have great stories. Like, I mean, Dark Avengers, Dark Reign, like, there's great stories featuring Norman after, but it's, where he feels like Norman, but it did take a little bit to get everyone kind of eased in on that. And that was the thing, though, is like once everyone kind of got used to it, One More Day happened, and then you removed literally the key component of him dealing with like Harry's death, because prior to that it was always Harry dealing with Norman's death.
Yeah. So it left me wondering. So why was Norman visiting Harry's grave and talking to it? I mean, obviously we might be getting an answer to that very soon. So
I was about to say this, and this is kind of a tease for next episode. In fact, I'll wait. I'll let everybody else kind of go, and then I'll Neil, your expanded thoughts, and then we'll do Adam, and then I'll wrap it up.
I love the way he uses continuity. I mean, that people were upset when he brought up Sin's past. They did it in the best.
So that's a great way to transition to what I have to say. So
the
I am an Al Ewing person where I think that all continuity matters no matter what. And I gotta say, I didn't expect Sins Past to be brought up, but I'm in a weird way I'm glad, because it proves to me that Spencer has the balls to tackle whatever he wants, and tackling the Spider-Man story where Tommy Lee Jones bones Spider-Man's girlfriend and reveals that Peter got cucked out to a ginger with cornrows.
Not cornrows, it's ramen noodle hair.
Okay. but the fact that he was willing to tackle Sins Past at all, because most writers have chosen just to never address it again.
Yeah.
But that proves to me that Spencer is an ambitious person.
Yeah.
Who's willing to tackle whatever story he needs to make things work continuity wise.
Okay.
He ain't afraid.
No, and see, here's the thing. I enjoy it because no, they have not removed that. They'll sit there, they'll completely, remove a marriage.
They could
They'll remove a marriage, but
so.
they won't remove the twins. And I also kind of want to know, are they dead by now? Because they were rapidly aging.
Right.
What is it? Is it prosaic? That is the condition, the rapid aging. I'm trying to remember what it's called.
Yeah. Benjamin, the opposite.
Well,
buttoning. I don't know.
I think in the awful Sins Remembered that she was going to be meeting with members of S.H.I.E.L.D. and they were going to help with the Infinity Formula to help slow
wasn't it Interval?
Yeah.
Okay, but Gabriel Stacey needs to pay for his crimes.
Yes.
But my point is that Spencer writes the best Norman we've seen since either, depending on how you take your coffee, either Death in the Family.
You're Mr. Coffee.
Yeah, yes, Death and Mr. Coffee, or Down Among the Dead Men. And personally, I think that. Oh, sorry.
No, you're fine. I was speaking of coffee, I still have this coffee thing.
Awesome, but sorry. Best Norman we've gotten in a good, for better or worse, 15 or 16 years. I understand people wanting Peter to be the paragon of morality, and I sympathize on some degree with that sentiment, but eventually your guy's gonna snap, and Norman, and I think there was a very good use of Peter and Norman's relationship where Norman knows the buttons that set Peter off, and when you get in movies when someone's just clicking on the keyboard, I'm hacking. It kind of felt like Norman was doing that, but mashing all the keys at once, trying to get Peter to kill him. And I liked that Peter didn't kill him, but it's I'm not going to help you. I'm not going to help you survive, but I'm not going to kill you. I like that Peter.
It's the Batman Begins bit.
Yeah,
I'm not going to kill you, but I don't have to save you.
Yeah,
and I appreciated that Peter is shown to be a more morally complex person than just
yes.
I like that he has his moments where he just stops.
Yeah.
Well, there's certain things that this is another thing, and I think Adam, you've talked about this. You like when Peter loses his it harkens back to the times that Peter is a hothead.
No, yeah, he definitely is. Yeah.
And this is very much in character.
Mad Peter. I don't want to say Mad Peter is interesting, Peter, but I like when Peter is allowed to have those moments of vulnerability and rage. It's a human trait. It's the ultimate expression of Peter Parker being just like one of us. He is completely. He has the capacity to lose his cool, and I appreciate that this was because Peter has acted. In fairness, given the situation that Peter is in, he has been unrealistically calm. Right. And well, at least externally, internally, we can see him panicking all the way.
Yeah.
But he's been unnaturally patient and rational this entire run, especially even with the Norman Osborn argument. He went through and I might not like Norman, but he still has. It is an act of compassion. Yeah. At the end,
he doesn't deserve to die in that manner. He deserves to die rotting in prison, paying for his crimes, and that's where he believes, and definitely agree with that.
Well, we're also just seeing him at this is emotional growth because, this isn't him at 20 years old anymore. This is him at basically 29, 30, maybe even like up to 32, since we're now in wibbly wobbly, timey-wimey. But it's like he's in his early 30, like late 20s, early 30s. So we've had an entire decade since Norman's death, basically. And that's kind of what you're seeing, is you're seeing the rationale and the reasoning of somebody that's like, instead of been doing it for 5 years, he's been in the superhero business for like 15, like half his life. So he can kind of move his rationale and his anger and his emotions and kind of keep them bottled down up to a certain point.
Yeah.
And that was the whole thing that Norman was pushing, was those buttons on purpose to see how far he could go, because that's Norman, to just be a dick. So
yeah. So my final point, I loved this issue. I loved the characterization of Norman. I loved the just the crazy Uncle Norman that you expect. You expect crazy Uncle Norman to be crazy.
Does your uncle sniff you?
No.
Oh God.
No.
Okay.
No, my uncle never sniffed me. But crazy Uncle Norman is a trope that JR used to use.
Okay. All right.
But so Norman is just the worst, and he should be.
Yes.
Even if he's, obviously he hasn't had his sins, healed and cleansed yet.
Yeah.
But this. I called it earlier. Norman Osborn's a magnificent bastard. That's what he is. He's a magnificent bastard.
We say this on Spectacular Radio all the time.
He is
absolutely the worst dad in the world. He's the worst friend in the world. He will stab you in the back. He is ruthless. He is shrewd. He gives 0 Fs. 0 Fs are given. That's what Norman Osborn is. Norman Osborn is absolutely just the worst.
He was never a good man gone bad. He was a bad man gone evil.
Yeah. Exactly.
Adam, I completely skipped you. So I'm gonna.
I went technically.
Okay.
I went after Kelly, I think.
I thought so.
Good. Okay, I thought I skipped you. I'm sorry.
I mean, Adam, do you want the floor? Is there something you want to say?
Just that I did like their team up, and I just like their whole dynamic in the issue.
To me, what it kind of feels like is if things had gone just a little differently, you felt like that. I've always felt like that if things had broke a little differently, Norman could have easily. He would have been a dick. He would have been a jackass, but he wouldn't have been evil.
Well, I mean,
and
he
wouldn't have been Glenn Goblin, the psychopathic Halloween man.
Yeah.
But he would have been a horrible person regardless.
Yeah.
Right. He still would, like I say, he still would have been a horrible person. But my point being is that he might have rationaled a way to use his powers for good.
No.
If things had things had broken a different way.
Do you not remember him admitting to generational abuse, and basically also admitted to abusing Harry? Like there is nothing redeemable about Norman Osborn before the Goblin Serum. It's just the Goblin Serum made him
expressive of those inner
more expressive of his inner demons.
He would have been a corporate crook.
Yeah, well, my point being is that in his mind, he would have been. In his mind, he's always the hero of his own narrative. But I feel like in this particular instance, where he's teaming up with Peter, he does this is like somewhat his dream. This is his dream realized. Where you saw that in Death of the Family, where and even in Peter Parker and ASM Volume 225 with the Jenkins and Mackie story, Revenge of the Green Goblin. Where he wants to make Peter his heir. This is all about. Dude, stop! It sounds really weird. Sorry, he was making these groaning noises.
That's I will disagree with you on like the Norman is like the hero of his own story kind of thing, because at some point it might be in certain eras of Norman he's himself the hero, but typically, like, the best Norman, in my opinion, is the Norman that indulges in being an absolute dick and has no reservations about indulging in his evil.
Right.
That's when he's at his most fun, because he's essentially a caricature of what we make of him.
Yeah.
And he's indulging in it.
Yeah. So, and I agree with that. I agree with that. But I'm going to say this. This entire run has been, talking about Nick Spencer, up to this point, we've now been 50 issues in.
Nope.
This entire run, 49 issues in. This entire run has been about addressing the fundamental problems over the last decade previous.
Yes.
And this next arc, this last remains, everything has been building towards this. It is addressing, I believe, and we'll be able to play this back in a few weeks.
And go to r/poorly aged things and upload this clip.
But I firmly believe that the biggest cloud that's hung over Spider-Man for a better part of almost 15 years now is going to be addressed.
Mm-hmm.
And it needed to be addressed. And the reverberations of those events are being addressed.
Yeah.
And it's being done in an incredibly complex way. And it was the only, like, to me, we're just starting the new decade of Spider-Man, but this has been the best story of the decade. Full stop. Because I view everything from 802 on as one big ass story.
Agreed.
This run has been that good. And I hope and trust that when we get next episode, which we're going to have a boatload of issues to cover.
Yep.
And going off, which is like, when we're recording this episode for perspective, we're about halfway through Last Remains.
Yeah.
I think, and I don't think, because I think we hit 53, and that's about the halfway point, including the .lr issues. But I think so far our response to it has been extremely positive.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So,
well, yeah.
November we have one more issue. We have one more issue left in November,
mm-hmm.
and we have 3 issues in December,
mm-hmm.
and so literally we've really went past. I mean, if you include the LR issues, 3, 6, 7, 8, 6. It's an 11-part story.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think we just hit halfway.
So
or past that, or past
we're
the
just
halfway
past
point.
the halfway point. So we're really, if we're going in the traditional sense, this is where we're hitting. We've hit the climax. 53 is the climax of the story, and now we're getting in the fall of the downhill slope of the falling action.
But my point was that, like, we're more than halfway through the storyline. I don't think any of us have any, like, I think we have, like, expectations of how it's going to turn out, and, like, a certain quality threshold, but I don't think any of us have any reason to assume that it will, like, Spencer will somehow, like, trip on a rock heading down the stairs and, like, roll all the way down to the bottom in a comically inept way.
Mm-hmm.
Like we've seen happen. But I think this will be a strong opening or a strong opening year for the decade.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely,
and something. Oh, sorry. Real
all
quick,
things yeah, go ahead.
Real quick, this is my last point. Spencer has spent the last 2 years more or less fixing other people's mistakes. Once Last Remains wraps up, and we've gotten, like, the major big boy stuff, like the major chunks
mm-hmm.
of resolutions fixed. This year is where I'm really hoping Spencer gets time to, like, spread his wings and do something completely different.
Sure.
From, like, because again, as much as I've loved, as much as I've loved fixing things, I don't want Spencer to be, like, in the Al Ewing situation of I'm constantly being forced to pick up after everybody else's messes and don't get to tell anything I want to tell.
Mm-hmm.
Because when Al Ewing gets to write his own stories, like Immortal Hulk, they've been fantastic. And I think Spencer is someone who's equally as capable as Al Ewing in that regard. And I really want to see Spencer do his own stories in his way.
Absolutely. I 100% agree. My hope is that he gets to be able to flex the muscles. But I also think that he looked at Spider-Man and felt that there was something fundamentally broken and that things needed to be addressed. They needed to be fixed. And I feel like that he is doing that because I honestly feel like he's going to have a 5-year run. I think he's got 3 more years in him. I really do. I don't know why I feel that way, but I feel like he's got a 5-year run in him.
Are we counting the COVID downturn?
Not counting the COVID downturn. I'm talking about 5 years of published books.
Mm-hmm.
Would be welcome by me.
To me, I feel like the first half of
a good
it's
run.
A long time.
It's about 125 issues if we're going double shipping.
Yeah.
So, I mean, 125, 150 issues nowadays. That's not uncommon, but for me, I just feel like that he's done so much to try to address I know there's a lot of people that came up through Slott and they don't feel like that there was things that were fundamentally broken. I hate that Paul's not here to defend this, but
hang on, let me call him. Paul, abandon your child. We're talking about Slott.
But I feel like we will address this in the Slott debates episodes. But to me, Spencer is trying really hard to get Spider-Man. I feel like almost to the point of where he was in the early 90s or the late 80s, early 90s, where stuff was happening to Peter Parker, but he still felt like Peter Parker. And,
I think it's more just, I'll put it this way. Every single time, legitimately, every single time they've ever taken MJ away, everybody has flipped their lid until she comes back. I think ultimately what this is Nick Spencer's way of trying to find a solution to make everyone happy and get MJ back, because I know as a fan he's probably feeling the same way. I don't necessarily think he's trying to undo, I don't think his original intentions were, I have to undo this because everything's broken. I think it's just he goes, okay, if I'm going to write Spider-Man, I'm bringing MJ back because the stories I want to say involve her. And then he's had to figure out how to get that done.
Especially considering he is he's the fix-it man of the of the Spider-Man corner of the Marvel universe right now. It's probably something like when he was drafting the series, he said, "Okay, I want to have MJ there, and then I want to have them get back together, but I don't have any long-term marriage plans." And then eventually, we've talked about the infamous Joe Quesada meeting that we have no details on aside from Spencer learning that MJ was available. And I think that's when he kind of realized, hey, maybe I can do something with this. I don't know if I don't know if directly undoing one more, because I think undoing one more day, especially because of how it impacted the Marvel universe, going back 15-ish years is how long it's been.
Yeah,
give or take
a little less, but yeah.
The Marvel universe has changed.
Yeah,
the Marvel universe has changed in 13 years, and
that's
for better,
doing it more about resolving it.
Exactly.
People need to change the semantics. It's not undoing, but rather resolving. Because again, you've had 13 plus years of the Marvel universe drastically changing, and the post one more day status quo is somewhat essential to how the universe has been structured. Yeah. So just undoing it is, I don't want to say irresponsible, but it's unrealistic because of how you would have to undo 13 years of the Marvel universe.
Oh yeah.
I don't think that that's necessarily what's happening. I think on one hand it's fixing issues that he needs to set it where he wants it. But I also think too it's kind of, if anything, the amount of detail and research he's clearly put into this shows immense respect to the writers before him. Something that, I've stated it, and I'm sure at some point some Slott fanboy is going to come after me and say I'm all wrong, but I'm not wrong. So there.
Base Kelly,
Slott did not respect anything that came before him because he felt like he knows everything. At least that's how he presents himself. That's how he acted. And so
gotta get my royalties.
Yeah, and so the thing is with that is I think if anything, this is just like the subtle, it's not like a subtle dig at anybody else, but it's more of like, I have to write this in a way that is respectful to everybody, because that's also one reason why this is taking so long, why there's so many layers, because he's literally trying to take into account everything that's happened, and he's trying to figure out a way to do it without basically without disrespecting the past, regardless of who wrote it. And so I'm appreciative of that, because that's something that I feel like a lot of times newer writers just don't give an F, and they don't think back. Because the thing is like, yeah, you need to make sure the fans are happy, and you need to have a good mix of the old fans and new fans liking it. But there's so many people and their emotions and are involved. And I know, like, yeah, it's a business, and a lot of writers and artists, they do kind of just toss everything away and focus on what's ahead and the present, which is great, because that's a good mindset to have. But it's also their work. They put time and effort in their work, and I don't like seeing it disrespected. And I feel like a lot of people felt that way about Brand New Day and One More Day. Like, those things disrespected a large chunk of Spider-Man's past. And so this is kind of a way of bridging everything together, so that way it's no longer being like thrown into a corner. That at least that's the way I see it. I don't necessarily think he feels there's an injustice. It's just, this is a story he wants to tell.
I brought up Immortal.
I do agree with that. I do. I do feel like that. But I also kind of feel like that there was some reflecting. After having everything in the hands of one guy for so long, and he drove the Spider Office. I mean, let's be real. Everything splintered off of Amazing Spider-Man, which was fine. We got some great things. In fact, apparently, according to the letters page, which I was just kind of skimming, we almost got Ben Reilly and Kane in this, but they didn't show up, apparently for reasons.
In some ways, I think it's for the better.
Yeah, but it's just because I think that
it's not because I don't. So Zach, it's not because I don't like Ben and Kane, but I'm worried that like there's going to be a culling. I don't want them caught up here.
I don't think that. So I kind of don't think there's going to be like a culling, but I think for the purpose of this story, because of just all the little
there's a lot of history
and layers.
Between,
they don't need to be included right now.
Right.
Aftermath, yeah.
I want an arc dedicated
I don't
just to
disagree
them.
because the amount of layers between. Look, I think that yes, you could have completely eliminated Jessica and Anya out of this story and knocked them. They're
neither of them need to be there either. But
they're set pieces.
A whole other situation.
Miles has an importance. Gwen has an importance.
I think,
I will argue she was supposed. I will argue she was supposed to have like the solo series was supposed to be before Sin's Rising, or not Sin's Rising, but before Last Remains. I think that she was going to transition in as a member of the Order of the Web, but that got canned. So now she kind of feels like she's just there. But I feel like she was supposed to have more relevance than she does.
Well, the ones that all had a dream about him are the important ones, basically.
Yeah.
Which I guess included
Jessica.
Anya did not, I don't think.
Yeah, well, Anya might have. So the thing with Anya, like that whole thing since she's been Spider Girl is it's very much tied to Madam Web. So she probably had some premonition or something, or like if she still has like one of those scrolls, the scrolls talk to her. Like, who knows? We don't know because it's not explained, and I think that that's done on purpose. Because there's a lot of other situations that need to be dealt with her as a character. But I'm not mad at who's there, because I think essentially they're going to just be plot devices.
Yeah.
And so I think it kind of makes more sense to have, like, other than Miles and Gwen, who should have some relations, but I think that, it was made abundantly clear, like, hey, Pete, you're a little too old to be hanging out with children. So
like if it was in a mentor, like, Miles was like in the new Miles game, like he is clearly structured to be Peter's teen sidekick. It would have a bit more weight to it.
Yeah, but see too, it's also disrespectful of the Spider name to really be a sidekick.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree.
So
it's a weird, like, rock and a hard place situation when it comes to the Spider family.
Exactly. So it's more of just like, it makes sense for them to be there just so that way it draws people in, and then they can say it's an event. But at the same time, the people that are there just being used as plot devices, I'm not mad at, because of the fact that ultimately that's what's needed, and it's only needed just so you can see the cutting of the fat to get to the main showdown. Like, it's technical storytelling.
Kindred's mind. I'm trying not to spoil who it is, but I mean, you can obviously look it up if you're reading along with us and following along with us. Spoiler free. We're not going to do it, but
actually, real quick, could we add like a spoiler section, and then like say if you don't want to be spoiled, skip to timestamp.
Well,
we don't know the timestamp.
You can add it in post.
Well, I'll just say this: the end of the day, everything is being set up to cause and sow chaos in Peter's life. And Peter, one of the only things that has come out over the last decade with all these extra Spider-Man characters is who's the best Spider-Man of them all? Peter Parker.
Yeah.
And these people, Anya looks up to Peter, Gwen looks up to Peter, Miles.
Wow.
That's his mentor.
Yeah.
Spider-Man.
Well, yeah, I was saying,
well, depending on who's writing them.
Gwen is kind of, she's the wild card. It's just, her entire series was weird about getting her to the 616, and then we never really realized exactly what she's doing in the 616 or what's going on. But to me, she's never really had, because to me, saying that, she looks up to 616 Peter is kind of saying that, like, May is like, they totally know each other. Like, they don't, and that's the thing, because he wasn't really around in Web Warriors or anything like that. She really barely knows him. She just,
that's true.
It's a friendly face, and she knows that,
she can trust him.
Her world's Peter is dead. So she's got that kind of guilt complex, and she knows Peter has the same thing for her face too. But as we just discussed, that is a complicated situation, and she's
right.
So
and to me, I'm sorry, I still hate this, but Jessica doesn't need to be in this.
No,
she serves no purpose.
It feels like they wanted to tie in like his members. I don't want to say they represent certain eras, but some of them do kind of. Like Jessica represents his time in the Avengers. Miles represents kind of like his
multi-dimensional
mentorship, his mentorship, and then Gwen represents the Spider-Verse.
Yeah, well, again, it's also to make it an event. Like, if we were in pre-COVID time, there would have been made a ton more marketing on this too, and it would have been a summer event. So that's kind of the thing you also need to take into account.
Yeah,
here.
this would have come out like mid-June, July.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
So I mean, obviously we lost several months worth of stories, which for us on this show actually helped because it
bought us time.
It bought us time.
Hey, it came out for Halloween.
Too much,
It
maybe.
did. Yeah, which this story will be cover dated for December, which 16 years ago or 26 years ago. This cover date December 1996 was Peter Parker Spider-Man 75. So so there is some synergy there. Like I say, this story really is impactful. I'm really looking forward to our next episode. Because God, we're at almost 3 hours. We're at 2 hours and 40 minutes now.
Yeah, I had a late start and now I can't shut up. So sorry again. Sorry, guys.
No, you're good.
I was so before we started the stream. For those of you who are listening, I was literally like climbing in bed, and I'm like, I don't have the energy to do this.
That's what Neil does. He just goes to
Literally.
bed.
Well, no, but this time I looked like I was about to like genuine, like it wasn't like a gag. I was about to like genuinely burn out and just.
I was
sink.
yawning, and before all of the craziness happened in the apartment.
Everybody's got their second wind.
Yeah. Well, I was
hungry.
like, get
dinner.
food, Neil. No, that was my thing. I think I like yawned in the beginning of this, and then all of that happened. I had my freak out, and then things quieted down, and now it's fine.
So,
but
all that
anyway,
being said,
yes.
All this being said, the amount of layers that we have had,
Let me get my onion.
the amount of storytelling has all been leading to this. Obviously, next episode we'll start with 50.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't decided how many issues we're going to cover.
I think we should do 2 or 4. Personally,
I think okay. So you said it's 11 issues,
4.
right, Zach?
Mm-hmm.
So hang on.
I say we do. I'm saying that we should probably do 50.
to 50.
Looking at the last remains checklist.
Or maybe
Let's
to
do all about-
53.
Yeah,
We could
53.
do that.
Considering 53 has a hell
Yeah.
of a cliffhanger, I think that's
Yeah.
a good place to end it.
Yeah. Well, it's a cliffhanger-ish, but also it resolves a lot of that. So like that really feels like the conclusion of the first half.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to really this week focus on writing out our synopsis. Obviously 50 will be the biggest synopsis of them all, but the goal is next time. I don't know if we're going to do it live yet. We might. A couple of issues will come out. We'll do it live. So next time we'll do this live. You guys are going to be seeing this the week of Thanksgiving. So in fact, you'll see it the day before Thanksgiving. So hopefully you guys have a great holiday weekend. We hope and trust that you guys get where you need to go safely. Remember, if you can, socially distance. Wear your mask. If you're not feeling well, don't be around other people right now.
What was it?
And also,
I
college-
thought a Zoom. Sorry.
college kids especially, be careful because
Yeah.
Absolutely.
if you're living with your so for me, I live with my grandparents at my mom's house, and spend like 3 days when you get home, and try and get home early.
If you've got the weekend before,
go home and quarantine early. Get a head start.
Quarantine as much as possible, basically.
Be
'cause
safe
clearly,
this year so we can gather next year.
yeah. Or
exactly.
What I saw online, a Zoom Thanksgiving is better than an ICU Christmas.
Yes.
Yeah.
it's that's not wrong. I happen to be living in one of the 2 biggest hotspots in Texas right now.
Good thing I'm
It's
not in
bad.
El Paso.
Yeah, but my mother is, so I get to hear about that every day.
I have a lot of Georgia jokes.
But nevertheless, we are for those that are fighting this disease. We are definitely praying for you guys, and we're sending good thoughts and vibes. Be responsible, do the responsible thing. I'm not going to tell you what to do. Family is important. firmly believe in family, but if you've got to do a Zoom Thanksgiving, do it. Make those decisions. Pray about it. Be with your family. Make those decisions together, and it's
be like Spider-Man.
We're gonna get to a point where COVID is not as big of a deal, but it may take a while, and we're hoping and trusting that we get to some semblance of normal soon.
Well,
so with that being said,
when we get a vaccine,
right, and so
and that can remind that could be a while. So be safe and be responsible. That is our Spider-Man responsibility PSA.
There you go. I mean, if hopefully, the right now everything preliminary looks great, but let's just hope that everything continues to look great and everything continues to, on that regard, continues to get better. So for those that have lost, science is friends, and for those that have lost loved ones, we're thinking of you. It's been a crazy year. 2020 is hopefully.
Hopefully the worst year. Hopefully the worst year of the decade.
And let's be real. Thank you for your listening. Thank you for your subscribing. Like, share, subscribe to this video. Share it with your friends if you're enjoying our look backs, our deep dives into these great issues. And I highly encourage you, pick up the traits, pick up the individual issues, however you want to do it. They're really great, and it's been a fun time to be a Spider-Man fan. Greg and I can attest. We've been doing this almost for a decade together, and it's nice to talk about things we like.
And think of this as a way to support your local comic shop, because if they sell paperbacks and you're just now getting into this, pick up it's good to have like single issues, but the trades really help your local store, because if you buy them in bulk, they add up. And that helps your local businesses.
These, if your businesses are open, for as easy as it is to use Comixology, and trust me, we use Comixology on the show a lot. But you see me with the issues in my hand. Just support your local books.
Jeff Bezos doesn't need your dollars.
Yeah. No. Also, what I was gonna say is too. Excellent Christmas gift cards, board games, digests, complete collections, like Spider-Girl, the complete collection.
Volumes
1 and 2. In stock trades.
Look, Zach, I've spent this entire time. I brought it up once, but I didn't plug by Spider-Girl yet. So there you go.
There you go. Listen to Make My Mayday. Listen to Spectacular Radio.
Listen to this.
Listen to this show.
Listen to everything.
We have a wide, diverse network of shows covering a wide range of books, wide range of topics. We're so thankful. If we could talk about a little bit what we're thankful for, I'm thankful for this network. I'm thankful for every single person in this room. I'm thankful for the amount of support we've gotten, even when we got our asses beat by a vicious malware. We are going to be so much better. And I guarantee you we'll be so much better off in 2021 this time next year than we were even this time last year.
Good prizes are going out, everybody.
So, I mean, hell's going to freeze over. We're finishing up two shows. We've launched several shows. There's more shows to come. There's some continuations to come that we haven't even announced yet. So stay tuned. Stay safe. We will see you guys in a couple of weeks. Or a week or two, or I don't know how long, but we'll see you guys.
We've got at least one more episode of, hopefully more than one episode of Make Mine Mayday. So
so we'll have some more content with Make Mine Mayday. Be sure to check out our live streams. We do try to do a live stream every couple of weeks, or we try to do them weekly, but at least every couple of weeks. And that's where you kind of can ask us questions, and we'll shoot the breeze. We had a very, very deep discussion about next gen consoles and the Miles Morales.
We got to flex our tech cred.
Yes, we did, and so we had a real good time. We did that the other day from when we're recording this. So go check out. It's in the if you're using the playlist on YouTube, it's under the random live streams playlist, and so that's where all that's at. again, be sure to check out Make My Mayday. New episodes of Spec Radio are coming. New episodes of
Tell them what we're currently doing for Spec Radio.
Yeah, so we are about to finish very soon the last interview.
We did the first half already. It went long.
Yeah. It's going to be a double-sized episode. The last 2 episodes, the final curtain episodes, are going to be extra-sized, and we do need your help. We do need voicemails. We need emails. spectacularradio@gmail.com. Voicemail line is 818-925-6631. If you've noticed, if you're watching us on YouTube, I've got the scroll here. Follow us on Facebook at Spideydude Network. Same thing with Instagram. Also, I forgot to put that's also the Twitch. Spideydude Radio is on Twitter. Voicemail line, of course, is there.
I'm trying to get Zach. I'm trying to figure out how to get Zach linked to Twitch so that he can play Vidya for you guys.
So yeah, you get to watch me play Spider-Man badly. I'm not. Look, I'm not terrible. I'm not terrible, but I've watched.
You accept your limitations.
But, I mean,
exactly.
You could also on Twitch. There are certain ways where we could have a Twitch-based trivia game.
Yeah.
With audience participation. Maybe that can be a goal if we can get 100 subscribers on Twitch.
Yeah. So be sure to if you've liked us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter, like this on there's the classic Green Goblin figures from Spectacular Spider-Man. We are going to do some action figure stuff, so stay tuned.
I love that they actually came with this feature on his glider.
Emerald Elf.
Where the glider, where the knife pokes out. Again, we've got so much stuff coming, so much in the can right now. We'll talk about it more, I think, the next time we're on Spideydude Experience. But very, very excited. And Marvelous Women, we're going to eventually get that going off the ground. So Make My Mayday, Marvelous Women, Spideydude Experience, Clone Saga Chronicles, Amazing Spider-Man Classics. More to come on that. Trust me, there's more to come on that. There's about 12 to 14 episodes that are left from the original stream, and then we'll see. Like I say, I'm really excited about that one. CSC, we've got a couple episodes left. Spectacular Radio, we got 6 or 7 that are in the can. They're just waiting to be me to push the button, and it's out. So
also, I'm working on getting my stuff out there. I promise.
Yeah. So, and we got stuff with Neil, more action figure stuff, more diverse stuff, not just being a review show. Watch this space. Watch our social medias. We'll definitely be making more announcements very soon. With that, we bid you adieu. Our longest episode ever. Even longer than Hunted, and that was 2 episodes smashed together.
Yeah.
So
I feel bad. I would have helped keep us on track if I had been able to pay attention during the first half. So sorry, guys.
Hey, no big deal.
We had fun talking.
I think we had a great time. So we'll see everybody next time here on the Spideydude Experience, only on Spidey-Dude.com and the Spideydude Radio Network.